Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Oh. Welcome on into the sports bar. I'd say today is a bit of a historic day. Why is my microphone all weird? There you go. Here we go. There we go, Gino. I'm sorry. I got camp brain. And I came into the studio and I forgot how to do things.
Yeah, if you had camp brain, you didn't realize that sounded a little weird. Then I was going to be like, buddy, check that out.
Sounded a little weird. I was going to say I feel like today is a fairly historic day for sports fans in the city of Rochester.
You got to feel great. Somebody is making an investment in our town, and this is fantastic. The Nighthawks are here to stay, as we told you yesterday. Seneca Nation, the proud new owners of the lacrosse team that is called Rochester home for 31 years. They're not going anywhere. How long is the deal? They didn't really give us those details, but if it's Seneca Nation, I can't imagine this franchise would be in any danger that we'd be doing this, on a semi-annual basis, the future of the Nighthawks. This feels like things are headed in the right direction. Today couldn't have come off any better with the new owner being introduced, seeing a bunch of Nighthawks on their own coming down, including Connor Fields, the defending MVP, and to see Dan Carey, Malik Evans, everybody up at the podium today. Yeah, it's proud that we kept part of our history here in Rochester. It feels like a natural fit.
Yeah, and you love that the ownership has deep pockets. Not that the Pagulas didn't, but you know that there's going to be an investment in this team. This is a team that's made the playoffs now 3 consecutive years. So we just need a little, much like the Bills, just need a little bit more to kind of get over that hump. But knowing that you have the investment from Seneca Nation, and that the Nighthawks are here to stay, I think is great news for sports fans in the Flower City. And we, Gino, you and I are very fortunate that today, this afternoon, we will be joined by President J. Conrad Seneca of Seneca Nation here in the sports bar.
Yeah, he's not going to be an absentee owner. I can kind of tell you that. So they elevated Dan Carey to a president position, but this is the president of Seneca Nation. And, hearing him talk today, Danger, one thing he brought in, the relatability. He grew up a Buffalo Braves fan. We like to kind of joke about the Rochester Royals. Look, the 70s, the Buffalo had an NBA team.
Come on.
Until they didn't.
What are you going to tell me next, that Rochester had an NBA team? Come on.
He talked about how, those memories even today still kind of linger.
Yeah, you never want to see your hometown team pull up stakes and leave. I mean, it makes the stories of the Baltimore Colts hightailing out of Baltimore for Indian or the Browns leaving for Baltimore. Like all of those stories feel like they hit really, really hard, and fans struggle with that loss. Luckily, we won't have that with the Nighthawks this time around.
You talk to people on the side, and I don't want to make this sound like you're ungrateful to the Pagulas, because they stepped in. It was kind of a really weird period where Kurt Stiers wanted out, wanted to move, and they worked something out. But you knew this really couldn't be long term, right?
It was essentially a donation, and I think that's how he viewed it as.
Terry Pagula said that.
Called it a donation. Make this donation for the community, and it's important for our community.
But the one thing that didn't come along when the Pagula ownership took over, when Stiers left the city of Rochester, the indigenous fans. And can you bring them back? I think they will come back in droves. And all you need is a little bump. And, Danger, they were saying all the right things, and the commissioner was there today. And then, great to have you fans here, but you need to show out. That was kind of the message that was pretty clear. And, in the Nighthawks, again, we're in the middle of the league in terms of attendance, but we really don't know okay, was that papered? Meaning, okay, how many comps were given out? Like, what was the real dollar figure? It's going to be a lot of work. We're kind of late in the game. Like, from the time the Pagulas left, or actually, there hasn't been anybody asking anyone for a single red cent when it comes to season ticket deposits. Now that starts up once again. So the season coming, pretty quickly here. One other note, we did catch up with the commissioner, Brad Food, and asked him directly.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this.
Yeah, we got the cut here. It's a little long, but hey, there's this other issue about a CBA coming up. Like right now, that we want to have a season next year. This is the commissioner of the National Lacrosse League.
As you know, any CBA is a tedious process, and there's a lot going on for the league right now. So it's been, certainly with the Rochester, it's been on our mind getting this done. But we're meeting with the NLPA weekly, and I think a deal will be imminent. I don't know that I know the timing on that, but we're working pretty copacetically together, and certainly expect to play this year.
So
that was recorded on your phone, wasn't it, Gino?
Apologies. I thought the level will be better on that. A deal is imminent, is what
I heard.
That's what I heard. So that's why I wanted to get that out. You heard from the commissioner saying deal is imminent.
This is Jay Conrad Seneca on keeping the Nighthawks in Rochester.
How about those Nighthawks? Let's go, right? Yeah. This is an exciting time, and once the opportunity came, we looked at it and we realized the importance of it and our connection to this game of lacrosse and what it means to us as a medicine game, as a spiritual game, a game that's able to bring our people and communities together where we come from. And the importance of this game we call lacrosse is, I think, very vibrant here in Rochester. And for us to be able to step in, to be able to take possession of this team, this franchise, and to keep it here in Rochester, I think means a great deal to you, the team, and I think to the fan base and the people of this community of Rochester and also this region. And so it's a very important decision and a process that we're going through right now. And we want your support. We need your support. As the commissioner said, let's get out there and let's get people into this building this coming season. Let's pack this place because the excitement is here and we want to bring another championship to Rochester. How about that?
He's saying all the right things.
Yeah.
Got to be fired up about it. You mentioned his memory of the Buffalo Braves. This is President Jay Conrad Seneca of Seneca Nation.
I was a big Buffalo Braves fan back in the day, and I remember what happened with that team when the city of Buffalo and the fan base there lost that NBA franchise, and the team was torn apart and was moved out to Los Angeles. And, it had a lot of effect on us back in that day. I was fortunate when I played in high school basketball. We used to play before the Buffalo Braves games, and a couple of them that we played, with some of the superstars of the NBA. And, the New York Knicks were in town the one game that we played in the auditorium back in Buffalo. And so I had a really good connection with that. And I remember as a kid, the effect that it had on me when a sports team was taken from a city and a fan base.
Okay, I'm blown away. No way Buffalo had an NBA
the Braves,
team.
Dude.
Get out of
The
here.
Braves.
No.
No, that is absolutely true. Not to correct the president there.
No, I am going to correct the president. When he
moved
joins us, I'm going to say, you got to be kidding me,
No.
right? Pull this like it plays Jingle Bells. What are you talking about? That the Buffalo Braves, okay.
They became the San Diego Clippers, which
became the LA
Clippers, yeah.
Okay. What are you going to tell me? That Rochester's team went out to California too? Is that what you're going to tell me next?
Ultimately, the Royals moved to Cincinnati. They moved to Kansas City. They had a layover in Omaha, and they're in Sacramento today.
You think people in Omaha are like, yeah, we had an NBA team? Yeah, sure, whatever. Great news. Great news today for the Rochester sports fan, and we'll have President Jay Conrad Seneca on with us here in the sports bar just after 4 o'clock, a little less than an hour from now.
4 o'clock hour, we'll also talk to Michael F. Florio from the NFL Network. He was at Rams camp last week, and we'll kind of get his thoughts on some of these running back situations. He had some interesting stats on Kyron Williams, who he's front and center in the news today.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, ... So Michael F. Florio is, hey, you want to win your fantasy league? Listen to the sports bar. We're going to do this with Michael F. Florio every Tuesday. So appreciate it.
I'm gonna tease a deeper question for Florio when he joins us for fantasy football. And I was talking to you about this off the air. Not every fantasy football league has an IDP, an individual defensive player, but there is a player that is doing something this year that is on track to do something this year that we haven't seen since what? Dion? And that's Travis Hunter. And Travis Hunter having dual eligibility in a lot of platforms, playing both offense and defense. And if you are in a league that rosters an IDP, an individual defensive player, is Travis Hunter a cheat code? He is, but where do you draft that cheat code?
We have to do some league settings. Like, does he have to appear for a few snaps at corner before you can actually put him in there?
Everywhere I've looked,
everywhere
I've looked, he's qualified as both a wide receiver and a corner.
Okay, it should be simple, and maybe this is something that's not being discussed. He's the number 1 overall pick
In an IDP league?
on an IDP league. If you have
if
you have an IDP player, if you're not familiar, one player on defense, which can be fun, and then you kind of go over, all right, who could have a big game tackle-wise, who's doing a really good job taking the ball away. Those are the things you're looking for. Oh, my gosh, this person got a fumble recovery. I remember, Danger, the first time I played in your league, Miles Jack had a fumble recovery. I was so fired up. My IDP player.
It's great. Look, there's no one way to play fantasy football. There's so many different strategies, so many different fun ways to play the game. And if you play with an IDP, you can have a lot of fun with an individual defensive player if you draft defensive players across the board. I remember when J.J. Watt was catching touchdown passes with regularity, but in the Houston Texans, right? Like, they had a goal line package where J.J. Watt was scoring touchdowns. They would throw it out to J.J. Watt. And if you had J.J. Watt, that was a cheat code. You were probably winning the week that J.J. Watt scored a touchdown. So when we get Florio on, I gotta press him about that. I know that's not a fantasy football question for every league because not every league has an IDP, but I think the Travis Hunter conversation going into this fantasy football season is an interesting one to have.
Well, I guess what majority of our listeners would you say play in 0, 1, or multiple leagues? What would be the majority? I would say multiple would be the majority.
If you're playing in one, you're probably playing in the. I don't know that there's many that play in just one.
Right.
One fantasy football league is like, okay, that's a nice teaser, but you end up playing in more than one, I think.
So if you're playing more than one, highly encourage you to do different formats.
That's right.
It's a different, like the guillotine is a lot of fun. The IDP is a lot of fun.
We spent a lot of time talking about the guillotine leagues. Boy, it is a lot of fun. We won't bring up the unsanctioned. We don't want to rile up the regulars. But yes, the different formats that exist in fantasy football, and I'm in 3 this year. I've got 3, and they're 3 different, unique formats. Each of them are different because of the amount of teams that are in there, PPR versus half-point PPR versus IDP versus Superflex. It's just fun. If you're a fantasy football player, stick around because later on this afternoon, right around 4:25, Michael F. Florio, doing fantasy football for NFL Network, will be stopping by. He's also a big Bills fan, and we'll ask him how fired up he is for Hard Knocks, which debuts tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, yes. Communal watching for Bills fans tonight, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, everybody in my neighborhood can come on over. 9 o'clock in the Garage Mahal. We'll have the projector set up. We'll have some cold ones. And we'll watch some Hard Knocks when it debuts at 9 o'clock. Matt Perino covers the Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. He's stopping by the sports bar here in about 10, 15 minutes or so.
And Matt Perino also has an event coming up on Thursday where if you're going to go meet Matt, we'll tell you about that and when and where, as he's a great friend of the show. Matt Perino. Yeah, I think we'll talk a little James Cook with him. And these injuries, we've been tippy-toeing around this danger. For good reason, because it's impossible to say, but it's worth just bringing up. Is this something that's a little bit bigger? Is it a little concerning? Is it just all dumb luck, which could be, that could be very well it, or the fact that you have a new strength and conditioning coach? Again, we're tiptoeing around this, and we'll ask Matt for his opinion on this because, gosh, now you have games. Now you're going to need bodies. You need everybody healthy, certainly coming up September the 7th.
Yeah, and the Bills are continuing to kind of like make roster moves just to get players out there on the field. You need bodies. You need 90 guys to get out there for the preseason. And defensive end Justin Holland is the latest addition here, 29-year-old Justin Hollins signing with the Bills after appearing in games in 2023, playing for the Packers, the Giants, the Chargers. Did spend time with the Commanders last season. He was released from the team's practice squad back in October. He did not sign with another club until just now, so another defensive end for the preseason here. And Justin Hollins joining the Bills at camp.
We also your call on this, boss. Do we do the radio tease on this, or would you tell people right now who's
Well,
coming
I think
on
we
tomorrow?
teased it yesterday. We said, look, Wednesday, our second to last day at camp, it's going to be a special one. I feel like whenever we have the chance to talk to Chris Brown and Steve Tasker and kind of extend hours from One Bills Live while we see that we're at camp, their setup is directly next to our setup. We were sharing plates yesterday from Bill Gray's with the guys from One Bills Live. Brownie is sharing his stories of eating plates when he was in college at Geneseo, and Tasker was sharing with me that he hadn't eaten all day and he was ready to, he devoured that plate and left with a big smile on his face. And producer Jay from One Bills Live was like, man, if you can make Steve Tasker happy, that's a feat. Well done. Very happy. Everybody was happy. So we're in great spirits. And tomorrow, the second to last day that we are there at camp, we know that the last day at camp, man, once practice is over, they pull up stakes,
Yeah.
the Mayflower trucks back in, and they get out of Dodge fast. So we get Brownie and Tasker tomorrow, which is always a treat. We get Joe Biscaglia tomorrow, covers the team for The Athletic, one of our favorites.
We, for the first time, are having Catherine Fitzgerald from the Buffalo News will be stopping by.
Okay,
So
great.
we have a loaded show, but what could
She's
top
been
all
on
that?
the beat a long time.
Yep.
Yes, we have a lot of guests. What could top it all? Somebody that we've never had on the show with us before, but somebody who has basically made the rounds. I think he's done every show except for ours. Sean McDermott tomorrow on the Sports Bar.
Sean McDermott. Now, full disclosure, we're getting him before practice. So we will talk to him before practice, and
It's going to be a tight window.
Yeah, it's going to be tight, but we're going to try to do this a little differently. We'll see what kind of mood Coach is in, and who knows, between Cook and injuries and everything else. And, yes, we will ask him some of those questions, but I'd like to learn a little bit more about Sean McDermott, the man here. Like, Sean McDermott, thoughts on Rochester?
Anytime we have to ask him about Rochester because, our insecurities are always on display. And we please like us, please come back every year. Don't go away anytime soon. But whenever I think of the life of an NFL head coach, I think it can't be much of a life during football season. And I'm always curious about the work-life balance of an NFL head coach. How can you be a good husband, father, son to everybody that's most important to you in your life when you've devoted as much time as you have to winning in the NFL? We know what a grind that is, what a struggle that is, and I suppose if you have the right support, you can make anything happen. But Sean McDermott in recent months feels like he's opened up a little bit more, or at least he's let his guard down. He's become a little bit more loose, a little bit more comfortable in his skin. The people that are closest to him that cover the team have shared as much with us. And so I'd like to see a little bit of that. I know we probably won't get it because it's right before practice and he's on a schedule and he's focused and Coach Hardass is ready to go. But I have to know about that balance between how do you turn on a switch from being Coach McDermott to dad, or Coach McDermott to husband, or Coach McDermott to son. We were standing next to his parents at practice the other day.
Or how do you just simple time management stuff? Like, okay, you work a lot, Danger, and so do I, and so do most people. We're not NFL head coaches where it's constant. You can put in 100 hours a week, and it's still not enough.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage all that?
Yeah. So that's tomorrow. Full show. Brownie and Tasker, Joe Biscaglia, Catherine Fitzgerald.
On Catherine, I asked her yesterday, hey, wait, come on. Yeah, but you're not going to make me eat something.
Oh, we've
What?
got a reputation.
Why, like, what?
We've got a
What are you-
reputation.
What are you talking? I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going back to when Elena came on last year. That was our plate day last year, and she had it, and she wasn't Perino. She was a good trooper about it.
Yeah. She's not. She hasn't dismissed it entirely. Perino is out. He's never doing a plate. He'll never do that again. Elena is a sport. You're right.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm down. I would do that again. I want to give it another shot. I'd give it another shot. I'm like, all right, let's go. So
like
Catherine, no, we're not gonna force Catherine to eat a plate.
Eat a plate.
It's not initiation when you come into the sports bar. We're not that kind of club.
Is this like the show Hot Ones? Here's a question. Eat some
Right,
hot sauce.
yeah, it's not Hot Ones. The plate is not truth serum. We're not going to stuff you in order to get the truth out of you. We're not going to put you through punishment and pain in order to actually answer the questions that we're throwing at you. Hot Ones is great, by the way. I love that guy. So, yeah, tomorrow's an all-time. And then, of course, Sean McDermott, the cherry on top. Yeah. Tomorrow's an all-timer in the sports bar. We invite you to listen in our second to last day at Buffalo Bills training camp tomorrow. Man, we didn't even get to Kyron Williams' deal in Los Angeles. I wanted to talk about that here, and we will through the course of the afternoon, because I think there are some parallels to that.
This is our jumping point with Matt Perino.
Yeah, that and James Cook. I think that if you're a fan and you see what Kyron Williams gets, you think to yourself, all right, what does that mean for a James Cook deal to get done? Because the Kyron Williams deal is right in that ballpark, I think, of what we thought the Bills probably were offering James Cook, or somewhere in that neighborhood, unless we're wildly inaccurate in terms of what we think the Bills can offer.
That's why, I would have thought that would have been done if it was really all about Kyron Williams, unless James Cook's representation, hey, we need to see what they're getting first. I want a little bit more. This game gets played all the time.
Sure.
If we don't have a deal, I would say 48 hours by the end. Okay, then what are we doing here if this is dragging into next week?
So Matt Perino will join us next. We'll talk about the James Cook contract situation. He covers the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard. Joins us every Tuesday at this time. Our coverage of Buffalo Bills training camp is brought to you by Ace Swim and Leisure. Get the most out of summer. Ace has beautiful outdoor furniture, fire pits, parts, accessories, chemicals, everything you need for your pool. Chili Ave and Ridge Road, Webster. AceSwim.com.
You're listening to the update.
Rochester Nighthawks have a new owner, Seneca Nation. Connor Fields, other players on hand today for the announcement. The league MVP, all smiles.
It means the world to us, one, that, we're staying here, but two, that we have an ownership group who's very familiar with the game and also, really cares about the growth of the game itself here in Rochester. The sky's the limit for this team, and to have a group like that, the Seneca Nation, who owns this team now, I think it's going to be a really bright future here for Rochester.
President J. Conrad Seneca, the Seneca Nation, joins us next hour here in the Sports Bar. Just 2 practices left at St. John Fisher this training camp. The team is off today. We'll talk to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, in the Shout podcast coming up next. Rochester Red Wings begin a 6-game series tonight in Norfolk. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back into the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia in studio. 2 more training camp practices in our future, and a guy that's been at most of the practices. We're not a psycho going to Florida in the month of August. That's Matt Perino covering the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard. Matt, it's good to have you back on with us today. We learn of Kyron Williams' extension with the Los Angeles Rams, and I wanted to start there with you because I know that a lot of fans right away are saying, well, if Williams can get 11 years per on an extension, shouldn't the Bills be offering something similar to James Cook? Does it feel like it's apples to apples? What's your take on the Williams deal in Los Angeles and what it might mean for a deal to get done here in Buffalo?
Yeah, I've always thought in that range is probably where the conversations are happening. I know that a lot of was made early in the offseason about the $15 million per season, and I just never thought that even on Cook's side that they would probably demand that high of a number considering a bunch of different factors, playing time, production really is, the big-time production came in one season. I mean, Kyron Williams has been pretty consistent since he got in the league a couple of years ago. And the other thing is, he plays on third down, right? And that's been the big holdup, I think, projecting out James Cook. He said all the right things. He's talking about being more of a factor there, maybe being a better blocker. Maybe he believes he's already ready to do that and waiting for an opportunity. That remains to be seen. But I think the big piece of this negotiation, I think this could potentially kickstart things. I mean, setting the market at a very similar production player could be something that maybe gets the two sides talking. Brandon Beane dropped a little bit of a nugget on One Bills Live yesterday. I thought was interesting. This is, if not the first, one of the first deals he's ever negotiated with Zach Hiller, who's James Cook's agent, or the agency in general. And some of the time, when you have relationships with agents over the years, a lot of these negotiations happen a little bit more clean, I want to say, or maybe even a little bit more fluid in terms of the conversation. Now, he did say that they've been in constant communication, which I think is something that, going back and forth, trying to, figure all these things out. But the consistent part of this offseason with all the extensions that Beane has handed out is all of those came in considerably below what I think all of the cap experts had projected those guys to get annually on a free agent contract. So if you're sitting there at the negotiation table with James Cook's camp and you're sitting here saying, listen, we re-signed all 4 of these guys and they all took less to play here, and that's kind of like your operating procedure and you can't get close enough together, I could see why this is kind of delayed out. And listen, the leverage piece is important to talk about too. The Bills have all of it, right? He's got to play on the final year of his deal. He can hold out now, but once you start to potentially sit out regular season games, you're costing yourself money. And so I think that ultimately, getting to next offseason, maybe even as far as free agency, if they can't come to a deal and figuring out for real what his actual worth is on the open market, what somebody's willing to pay. And who knows, maybe somebody's willing to pay up to $15 million per season, and then you just shake his hand and say, we wish you the best. kind of like Tremaine Edmonds a couple years ago.
Yeah, Matt, what did you make of just the idea to hold in? All right, so we're well into camp at this point, and you heard from the Bills themselves from being like this came as a surprise. Like, you've talked to people around the situation. Like, what has been the reaction from the team that Cook and his representation decided to go this way?
I felt like it was so awkward on Monday because James kind of popped his head out of the tent for a second, was making his walk out to the field where he kind of watched practice the day before, and all the cameras were lined up waiting to get a shot of him, and he quickly did a 180 and disappeared into the field house, and we didn't see him the rest of practice, which tells me, without being able to talk to him, that, like, he's not really about this whole show that it's turned into be. But when you have people in your ear, obviously his brother has been a long time NFL running back, knows the game, probably in his ear. I mean, he's been very vocal on social media. His representatives, I'd imagine, talking about, like, this is your last chance to, like, before the regular season starts, to show that you still want, make a statement, you still want a deal. And also, I thought that it was very interesting, the timing of this. He participated on Friday night in the scrimmage day, and that was the same day that Micah Parsons put out his long note and demanding a trade. And lo and behold, 2 days later, the first practice the Bills have after that, and now James Cook is kind of doing a hold-in. So it feels like maybe a little bit of a reaction to that, and maybe, from his team's perspective, keeping this situation in the news. But I think from Cook's perspective, I believe Brandon Beane in that this probably hurts him to not be a part of practice and getting ready for the season. He's been very upfront about, being able to chase a Super Bowl this year. I mean, this might be, depending on where he signs next year, if he leaves Buffalo, if a deal doesn't materialize, this might be the last really great chance he has to go try to win a Super Bowl. And so there's so many dynamics to this whole situation. And I think what's probably going to end up happening, deal or no deal, is we get into, the practices back at One Bills Drive, and he probably kind of locks back in.
I was going to ask you if it gets contentious here between the player and the team, because you're right. This is kind of unprecedented. We haven't seen anything like this. Brandon Beane hasn't had to deal with anything like this. He's admitted as much. And there's nothing stopping the Bills from fining the player for not wanting to practice or not being a participant in practice. Do you think it goes that way? Or do you think that there is a resolution here, some middle ground here in the next couple of days?
I mean, I think there's the entire range of outcomes here is in play from my perspective. I mean, if we were on this phone call right now and the news broke that a contract agreement had been made, that wouldn't shock me. If he doesn't practice again at St. John Fisher, that wouldn't surprise me. If this lingers until the last possible time where he cannot participate and not be fined, or whatever the circumstances around this are, depending on his conversations and interactions with the Bills, is nothing would surprise me at this point. And I think there's probably a level of frustration when you're one of 5 players that are extension eligible and you're the only one that hasn't gotten a new deal, despite the details around why that's the case. And we just covered all of that, right? Like there's real, like, common sense reasons why that this is the one that's still lingering out there. But there's still probably a feeling down deep, like, okay, how much does this organization want me that they're not willing to, pay and not willing to give me a new deal, just like they gave to Benford and Bernard and Shakir and Rousseau. And all those little elements are at play. The dynamics here are fascinating. And I think anything that ends up taking place over the next couple of days, I won't be surprised.
Matt, I don't know what your nickname is, but I know James Cook is Jimbo. Like it seems like, and I'm comparing this to the Cowboys situation where, boy, that's gotten contentious and personal. And, well, it shouldn't be personal. It should just be business. And it seems like from day one, it seemed like the Bills knew where this could go, but we want to make sure that we still want to keep this guy happy when he eventually comes back to the field here.
Yeah, and I don't know that the situation in Dallas has gotten to a point that Jerry Jones hasn't invited it to get to. Like that. I mean, he almost revels in this kind of stuff, and I almost wonder if he drags out these contract situations just to keep the Dallas Cowboys in the headlines and on all the talk shows and the national TV shows and all that kind of stuff. Whereas the Bills, I mean, you could hear from Brandon the last couple of days how much this kind of eats at him a little bit. This is the first time in 9 years that they've had somebody actually hold out or hold in this case, because of a contract. He's set things up over the years to not have to really deal with that sort of thing. And this is something that, for whatever reason, they just have not been able to get on the same page. With all that said, I don't think this is some massive distraction. I mean, maybe we see something on Hard Knocks over the next 2 episodes. I don't know if this would, depending on how long it goes, I guess it could drag into like a second or third episode. But, that to me would be what would potentially really make it a big deal, is if there's some type of interaction on the show or something from James Cook's side that we see or learn about. But at this stage, with how this thing is playing out, I do expect him. He's come back at every stage and shown up, right? Like he showed up after skipping voluntary, he showed up for mandatory, showed up for the start of training camp. He's doing the hold in now, but I would fully expect him to show back up, especially with the positivity that, even despite the surprise, how Bean has talked about the whole situation.
Matt, take a walk with me. It's a journey we've taken before. We spent some time on this journey during the off season. It's a journey that mentions those Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons. It's me wondering why. It's me wondering why we as fans settle. Why we have giant eyes during the offseason, the beginning of the offseason, and we get excited when we think of the prospect of an elite player joining the roster, and that just fades, and you realize, oh, that's not really going to happen. And I know that the Dallas Cowboys aren't going to trade Micah Parsons, but what if the Dallas Cowboys trade Micah Parsons? What would you think the Bills would be comfortable with giving up, including James Cook, in a deal like that?
So funny enough, I've never been more all in on the idea of this kind of thing, especially, when I talk about this, I try to talk about it through the lens of what I think the Bills would do, right? And I still think that, for right or for wrong, Bean values his draft picks too much to make this kind of swing, which would cost probably, for the Bills, I think this would cost 3 first-round picks because of where they pick every year.
Sure.
Those 3 first-round picks aren't the same as if you're getting 3 first-round picks from the Jets or from the Titans or from some of these other teams that are perennial, lottery teams. And so that, to me, is the part of it. I just can't get to a point where I think Brandon Bean would part with the capital to go out and take this kind of swing. Do I think he should do it? Yes, because of what Sean McDermott was talking about in February, right? Like finding game wreckers, game changers on that side of the ball. The Bills don't currently have one. They have ghosts of one, and I say that because Matt Milano was a game wrecker 3 years ago. Like he was a difference maker as a linebacker, as maybe the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL before the injuries. And we've seen flashes of that, but I don't think you can bank on that being the case this year. He's in a contract year. I think that's setting up really nicely. He's had a great training camp. But at this stage, I'm not putting him in that category of where I think of Micah Parsons sits. And listen, the more and more I thought about it, and the pushback I gave you months ago was that I'm not a huge fan of the off-the-field stuff with Parsons, the podcast, all the different things that come along with that experience. But the thing is, what do you build a culture for? You build a culture, to me, to be able to onboard, maybe problematic personalities or problematic just kind of ways people go about things, and your culture gets them to kind of, I don't want to say fall in line, but their operating procedure just is different than in that setting in Dallas where it's the Wild Wild West, literally. I mean, Jerry Jones, the way he chases headlines and the way that he runs his organization, he's either so oblivious and tone deaf, or it's a guy with a plan. And I almost feel like Parsons might be just feeding into that whole situation. So if you're asking me, should the Bills make this deal? Yes. I don't think he'll be available for trade, to your point. But I think what we've seen since the Kyrie Elam pick is where the Bills are picking now. You either have to be ultra aggressive in the draft. Like I'm thinking about the draft 2 years ago when I thought they should have gone aggressively up to go get a Brian Thomas Jr. who was standing out as, okay, he's number 4 in this draft at wide receiver. In next year's class, he's very likely number 1. You got to go get those guys in those drafts when it doesn't mean you got to trade up from 27 to 10 to get him. You can trade up to 16 or wherever he went in the draft, and it doesn't cost you as much. And I don't think Bean is necessarily hit on those kinds of moves. He's traded up for Elam. He's traded up for Kincaid. He traded back and went with the alternate plan in Coleman. And listen, I'm high on Coleman. Like, I'm higher than almost anybody on Coleman when it comes to the local beat. But I still think Brian Thomas Jr. is in a different tier in terms of what he did in his rookie season and the ceiling for what he can be in the NFL. And if you're not going to pull the trigger on those moves, go out and he's already shown that he's willing to give up a first-round pick to go get a difference maker on offense. Now maybe go do it on defense.
Matt, if James Cook is the number one storyline, I think we all can kind of agree. Number 2 are the injuries. Just getting crazy, right? And it's a topic. It's not really a question I can ask you, but I think it's something we just can kind of put out there a little bit. Is this just extraordinarily bad luck here the Bills are having with all these soft tissue injuries, or do we kind of take a look at a new strength and conditioning coach who was promoted from within, and Will Greenberg? What's your thoughts on everything that's happening on the guys who aren't participating right now?
It's a great question. I don't really know. I don't know how much that impacts things. I think it's worth asking Sean about it next time he comes to the podium and just all right, you have a whole new program in here. It's I say a whole new program, but it's also a continuation to a degree. How much of a continuation is it? I mean, do you feel like Will has made a lot of changes compared to what Ciano ran before him? And where do you attribute all of these injuries to? I think that's a question that's worth asking. But I also think that, if you look across the injury sheet, starting with Curtis Samuel and Balin Spector goes down yesterday, even Khalil Shakir, who's dealt with some leg injuries, ankle injuries over the course of his career, too. He's super tough. He plays through them usually. High ankle really worries you, but it's usually the same cast of characters here, right? I mean, Curtis Samuel, I really think you got to ask yourself, the fact that the first week of training camp, and he's already tweaked something, is this a guy you can count on? Or is this somebody that when he does get back, you play him in a preseason game, maybe pull a trade for him, get him out of here? I mean, you got some really interesting pieces at the bottom of that room. I've been singing the praises of KJ Hamler all training camp long, and Tyrell Shavers is the hottest guy in that room right now. He's coming off of a sensational practice. I wrote all about him in my observation post yesterday. We talked about it on the podcast. That performance wasn't just camp darling kind of performance. It was the kind of day where, sure, there's a lot of injuries, but you're going against first-team defense, and you're winning, and you're making difference-making plays, and you have Bobby Babich, who stops after practice, who isn't one to compliment players. I've not seen this very much, and I'm not in there, so I can't talk on the day-to-day stuff. But if you've ever listened to Bobby in a press conference, him downplay, especially young players and what they're doing, he's a tough guy to impress. And for him to stop Tyrell Shavers after practice yesterday and say, hey, man, you had a really good day. I mean, I think that speaks to the kind of ascension that we've seen from him. And again, you talk about injuries. This is a guy that was carted off the field a week ago, and he comes back in a week from a sprained ankle, and he has one of the best days a receiver has had all training camp long. And, there's still going to be a lot of hurdles that he's got to jump over to make this team. But I think those are the questions you have to start asking yourself. The Balin Spector, who the Bills are all in on, even throughout all of the injury problems over the years, he still is getting priority in training camp. And we don't even get through it, and we're talking about another calf injury for a guy that has had more calf injuries over the last 2 years than anybody. He even talked about it last year about being a real problem for him. It seems like it's something that pops up all the time. And I think you have to just start asking your questions. Are some of these guys that are dealing with the same injuries over and over again, is it time to try to pivot to find different answers at these positions?
Is it overblown, the injury concerns? It is training camp. It is before we even get to the first preseason game. And we're talking about a team that has, by all accounts, really, really good depth and a lot of continuity. Whereas this time around the league, if you look at other training camps, they're just working on installations. They're working on just breaking huddles. It's ugly if you look at some other training camps versus what we see every time we're looking at a Bills practice. Are the injuries overblown, Matt? Does it really matter this time of year if you've got a soft tissue injury as long as you're ready to go for week one?
It matters for Cole Bishop. Right?
I was gonna say that's the caveat. That's the one guy. Yeah.
That to me is like where I look in Maxwell Hairston, who's kind of falling. And listen, that was a non-contact thing. Like that's tough, right? Like to have that happen in the middle of a individual kind of slow portion of practice, like that is just bad luck. But the Bishop thing is like, again, I mean, we're talking about a huge chunk of reps that he's missing. And you hope that in year two, he's better equipped and built to withstand that and be more ready when he gets back. I mean, I'd imagine he'll probably ramp up here over the next couple of days. He's got a shot to play in the preseason game, and he missed, I think, almost all of the preseason. Maybe he only played in one. I can't remember exactly last year. That, to me, is where I look where it's not overblown. Like, all of the rest of them, like, for the most part, unless somebody has, like, an injury that keeps him out for a big chunk. Like, Taylor Rapp had a knee injury, and I wrote about that. We talked about it. Like, this is another guy that's kind of been banged up at times over the course of his career. He missed one day, and he's back. I'm not as concerned about those kinds of injuries for guys especially that have more experience and can lean on that. For Bishop and Hairston, I mean, those are two pieces of your secondary that I think the Bills are counting on in a lot of ways. And maybe not in September, maybe not in October, but down the stretch. Like, Tre'Davious White has been an unbelievable story. And honestly, I don't root for this. I root for stories at this point. And so I could safely say I'm rooting for Trey White. Like, I think that it's just going to be such an amazing story to chronicle over the course of this season. But in December, against the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs and against the Ravens and the Bengals, are you going to be able to count on him? Maybe. Maybe you will. But I'll tell you, I'd like to have that speed of Maxwell Hairston available and ready, because it's one thing to have it and be able to throw it into a game. It's a whole other thing for the defensive coach staff to believe in the guy enough to put him out there. They never had that trust in Kyer Elam, and right now is the time to build that trust, and Maxwell Hairston's missing all of it.
Well, if you want more takes from Matt Perino, certainly, the Shout podcast, but better yet, in person in Rochester on Thursday. Matt, tell everybody about it. What are the hours? Where do they go?
Listen, we did it on Sunday last year, and I think that was a huge miss on my part. I think Thursday night on Park Avenue, party kind of night, end of the summer, August 7th, this Thursday night, 5:30, the party's going to be starting. We'll have the live podcast. We're going to bring fans onto the show. I want your hottest Bills takes, your biggest takeaways from training camp, your biggest maybe roster projection, bold predictions, anything you want to talk about. Plus, me and Ryan will be there hanging out all night long. Dorado on Park Avenue, and then Wingnuts is bringing the truck out from Buffalo. They're going to be cooking wings all night long. And now that they're bringing the truck, we won't run out of wings this year.
I was going to say,
the first year
Matt,
we ran out.
I was going to say, I mean, like, I love you guys, but, man, I wanted some wing nuts, and they ran out when I went to visit you guys at Park Ave the last time you got, or 2 years ago, I think it was.
Can I tell you, 2 years later, they didn't run out. They just knew about your garbage plate habit and decided to hide all the wings from you. If I see another garbage plate on your Instagram story, Michael, we are going to have some more.
Now, listen. Now, Ryan, I will say this, okay? Well, we know Ryan's a plate guy. We're going to talk to him later this week. Matt, I'm going to tell you, I'm eating the garbage plate. It's a lot of calories, but I'm managing. I'm managing the calories. I'm still getting my dad runs in the morning. I'm not giving up completely. I haven't given up on life completely. I know it might look like it from my intake if you're following along with all the plates that I've had in the last couple of weeks. That's 2 plates in I want to say 2 weeks. That's not that's not healthy for a guy like me.
Dude, unless you had your entire family eating that plate that you posted the other day, the fact that you polished that thing off solo, I have concerns. I am a
Solo.
concerned friend up here in Buffalo right now. We're going to have a serious conversation when I get there tomorrow.
It's called an intervention. I'll be expecting it.
Do you know what
There it is.
reputation we have, Matt, real quick? We've never had Catherine Fitzgerald on the show. She's coming on tomorrow. And she
Let's
said,
go.
well, you're not going to make me eat something, are you? Like, what? What are you talking about? Oh, this is the word on us, Danger.
Yeah.
Well,
Either you or Elena, gave it up and said, "Yeah, you'll go on the show, but they have to initiate you with a garbage plate first."
I mean, she must follow Danger on Instagram. I don't know, but we're all worried and concerned, and we'll talk about it on the sideline.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Thursday, keep the wing nuts away from me.
Matt, I'm in Thursday, buddy. So.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I'm
hey, I want to get
so-
you on the show. Listen, I'm going to get you on the show this year, Gino. Don't you worry about a thing.
Well, I'm just there for the wings there, man. I can say hello. I don't want to barge in front of fans if they're going to come on the show here, bud. So.
All right, we're looking forward to it, Matt. Thanks
Thank
as
you,
always
Matt.
for the time. We'll see you around camp.
Later, boys.
You got it. Matt Perino covering the team. Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. He and Ryan Talbot do a great job. Ryan will join us on Thursday, our final day of camp, and, of course, the big event Thursday night as camp closes up shop here in Rochester and heads back to Orchard Park. Dorado over there on Park Avenue.
Yeah, we've got an exciting next hour coming up. Michael F. Florio, card-carrying member of Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
We'll talk
our guy
Florio.
F, who does fantasy football for the NFL Network, will be joining us about a half an hour or so from now. We'll talk some fantasy football with F. Big guest joining us next here in the Sports Bar. In fact, we're privileged and honored to have President J. Conrad Seneca of the Seneca Nation joining us next in the Sports Bar. The big news of the day here in Rochester, the Nighthawks aren't going anywhere, courtesy of the Seneca Nation. President J. Conrad Seneca to share some of his enthusiasm for keeping this team local here in Rochester.
Yeah, so if you're a Nighthawk fan or you just love Rochester sports, we encourage you. We'll also have time for your calls at 866-4326-8664-FAN.
You're listening to the HD2 Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
The Rochester Nighthawks have a new owner, the Seneca Nation, taking the franchise over. League MVP Connor Fields now thinking championship.
We all use it as motivation each year. I think we all try to get better each year coming into each season individually. As a team, we stay connected. Obviously having this certainty now of we're staying here and we're here to stay is definitely, I think, a confidence boost in itself too, knowing that, we have a group that we think, can compete and win a championship. And now, we can do it here in Rochester. So we can't wait.
President J. Conrad Seneca of the Seneca Nation joining us next here in the Sports Bar. To the Buffalo Bills today, the team is off. Just 2 practices left at Fisher this training camp. Head coach Sean McDermott to join us in the Sports Bar tomorrow. Rochester Red Wings, they're off last night tonight. They begin a 6-game series in Norfolk. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the Sports Bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the Sports Bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the Sports Bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
I'd say it's a fairly historic day for Rochester sports fans as we learn that the Rochester Nighthawks have new ownership. They're not going anywhere, our lead story today. And we're joined now by President J. Conrad Seneca of the Seneca Nation, the new owners of the Rochester Nighthawks. Sir, thank you so much for making time for us and joining us here in the Sports Bar.
Hey, Nelly Scannell, good afternoon. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's a fantastic day. Sun is out. President Seneca, how did this opportunity all come about? For starters here, this seemed to happen very quickly from the time that the Pegulas announced they would no longer own the team run the team at the end of June, and here we are with great news in August. Tell us how this all came about.
Well, I think we never can determine what's going to happen in the future. Sometimes things unexpected happen. The way I look at things, basically the Creator provided this with this opportunity to us, and the Creator directs our steps, and so we have to look at it that way. And we came upon this opportunity. We looked at it. We put it forward to our business council. They looked at it, vetted it, and we got with Seneca Holdings in regards to moving forward with the process. We decided that it was something we wanted to do. Put that forward to our nation's council. Council looked at it and approved to move forward with the acquisition, and here we are today, new ownership of the Rochester Nighthawks, and we're just very excited and very grateful for the opportunity.
Well, we could sense your enthusiasm at the press conference this morning. I mean, you got a lot of fans now riled up thinking championship, which is something we haven't been able to say in Rochester for some time. So what did you guys see? And I know that you have guys now like Dan Carey who's going to be running things, but what did you see, the potential that you saw in this organization that said, yeah, this is a good fit for us. This is absolutely something we want to be involved in?
Well, the Nighthawks really have some great talent. They got some, certainly the reigning MVP of the league in Connor Fields. I think, coach-wise, we have high-level coaching and, ownership and management. And so I think the formula is there, and I have no doubt with us involved in it, we will bring a championship to Rochester.
Just how your community stepping up and helping our community here save this team. I thought you told an interesting story today, how you growing up in Buffalo saw the Braves go away. I mean, how
yeah.
From your experience, what does it do to a community when they lose a pro sports team?
Oh, it was really devastating. I remember, certainly in high school, playing basketball for Silver Creek High School, where just off our territory where I grew up. And, we used to go to the Braves games all the time. We had the opportunity here and there to be able to play before a Buffalo Braves game when other teams would come into town. And just that experience and being able to be exposed to professional basketball, a professional sports team like that at the time, and then see it ripped apart and moved out of town, and we lost our team. I think back in that time, it was such a devastating loss, as a kid. And I could just imagine, when the talk was going on about the Nighthawks not going to be having a team and possibly moving them or whatever, you think about those things and you think, if we have a chance to be able to do something for a community, like keeping a team in place and to be able to build on it and to make it successful, that's what we should do. We have to help each other in this world. And I think it's a great fit for us in the game of lacrosse to bring what we have to the table, the creators game and the medicine game, and to be able to grow that on our Aboriginal territory in Rochester. You just can't write it any better than that.
President J. Conrad Seneca of the Seneca Nation, our guest in the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia, the new owners of the Rochester Nighthawks, joining us here on The Fan. President, I know that we've talked a lot about the product on the field and what we want a championship and we want to see this team win and be successful, but we also know that this is a business. And it's a tough business. Right. It's a business that the previous owners didn't really. I think they viewed it more as a donation than a business. And I want to just kind of get your take on how much of an investment this is and what might be different in terms of the game day experience and how you guys see this as not just a winning product on the field, but also a winning product on the bottom line, that this is going to be a successful business, knowing that we will see the Nighthawks here in Rochester for years and years and years to come.
Yeah, I think I've been in business personally myself for almost 40 years now, and business, you have your ups and downs, you have your challenges, but we always rise and meet the challenge and find a way to succeed. And so I think what the previous owners did or didn't do, we want to turn that around and make the right decisions and take the right steps in regards to making sure that we're mindful of our investment and we move forward on a path that has a lot of patience. My dad always taught me to be patient, take our small steps to get to where we need to be. And if we can do that, I believe that we can have a great bottom line, we can be successful, and we can get to the point we need to be, and that's our goal, of course, is winning a championship.
President J. Conrad Seneca, Seneca Nation, the proud new owners of the Rochester Nighthawks, our guest. I would imagine there were a lot of moving pieces when it comes to a transaction like this, and one of those being, hey, you've got to get a deal done with the venue operator. Tell us how that went. How long is the deal with VenueWorks, if I may ask? Right now,
Seneca Holdings was the main negotiator for us in that, and I'm not exactly sure what the term of the length of that is, but I know that they worked out a deal to be able to keep us there for a little bit, and so I think we got a good deal through Seneca Holdings and their negotiations that they put together.
One of the first things I thought of when we learned that it was going to be Seneca Nation taking ownership of the Nighthawks, I'm like, well, that's a great platform as well for all of the other Seneca properties that we're all familiar with that are in our region that have kind of added to the development of our region as well. I don't want to be greedy. You guys just bought the Nighthawks, but can we expect more? Can we expect more from the Seneca Nation, closer to home here in Rochester? Me personally, I had a great time Saturday night at the casino in Niagara Falls watching Toto and Christopher Cross. Man, that would be a lot of fun to have in downtown Rochester.
Yeah, I think that's something that we need to have discussion with the leadership in Rochester, the city council, and building relationships and a foundation to be able to provide those types of things there within the region. And so, we're open to that. But, of course, I think establishing a footprint here in Rochester with the Nighthawks and developing that relationship, I think, we want to be involved with the community. We want to be involved with the schools in the area. We want to be involved with youth. We want to be able to grow this opportunity into something that it can be. And, all those things that you mentioned, those are possibilities. And certainly we are open to that, and we're ready and willing to move forward and work with the community and the city of Rochester. So we look forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen other administrations here, President, in the city of Rochester, not be easy to work with, but that's in the past. Malik Evans was there today. How would you characterize the talks and his role, his office, in getting this deal done?
He's just a stand-up guy. He's an awesome person. He and I, our first meeting that we had, we really hit it off and connected and really had some good conversations. And so I look forward to meeting more with him and getting to know him better and just, seeing what the possibilities are and work together and building this opportunity to where it could be.
You talked about the importance of this sport to Seneca Nation. Can you go a little bit deeper on that and the roots of lacrosse and why it matters so much?
A lot of times, lacrosse these days, especially at the professional and other levels, a lot of people, of course, get compensated for their talent and their play, for what they do, and that's great. But I think, certainly growing up and being involved in lacrosse myself, I was fortunate to be able to play and then also be an owner of a senior B team with a friend of mine that we had called Native Sons. We were able to win our Can-Am division, and we went into the President's Cup on a couple of occasions and competed at a high level there. And so seeing that and being involved with that and the players themselves and what they play for, we play for the Creator. The Creator gifted us this game, and we have to always remember that in our mind. Although there's monetary rewards for those types of things, but the center of it and the foundation of lacrosse is that we're playing for the benefit of the Creator, and that's the way our players do it, and that's what certainly I believe in, and we want to bring that energy and that belief to the city of Rochester and the region.
We did have another First Nation owner years ago, Kurt Stiers, who still is in the league. He's up in Halifax. And what is your relationship with Kurt these days? And did he give you any advice about coming into this business?
No, Kurt's a good friend. He's been an old friend of mine for many years. And, I haven't really talked to him about this thing because I really couldn't talk about it. But I look forward to having a conversation with him at some point down the road. He's a great guy, and, he's done really well in the NLL, and certainly, with his Thunderbirds, they're very competitive this past season. And, I really look forward to talking with him and learning a little more on how things work in the National Lacrosse League.
So, listen, friendly conversation, but not too friendly now. That's a rival, and there's a rivalry down the throughway in Buffalo as well. So we want to be friendly, but we also want to win. We want that championship that you're promising us, and we can't be more excited about the news of the day today. President Jay Conrad Seneca of the Seneca Nation joining us here in the Sports Bar.
Yeah, I mean, last one for me. You got a lot of work ahead. Let's assume that a CBA gets done, and where do you begin? I mean, gosh, today was the first time I've heard somebody in months say, "Hey, season tickets are now on sale."
Yeah, no, that's great. And we want the community support. We need it, and we want them to fill that stadium and that arena up. And so, it's about ticket sales. It's about marketing. It's about putting a great product on the field. It's all aspects of a business that you got a product, you want to market it, sell it, and people to buy in on it. And I think the synergy is there, and I just really look forward to it. Had a brief conversation today about next steps, and so we're all excited today. A lot of this announcement, and then basically rolling up the sleeves now. It's day one. And we start working today on it, and we start moving this forward and putting that package together on what we're going to present for the community out there in Rochester to be able to buy in on.
Well, President, don't let us hold you back. Get your sleeves rolled up. Get to work. Let's get a championship here at Blue Cross Arena for the Nighthawks. This news today, I think, delighted a lot of Rochester sports fans, and we couldn't be more excited about the partnership and your investment into the Rochester Nighthawks and into the community of Rochester. President Jay Conrad Seneca of the Seneca Nation, it's been a pleasure having you on with us, sir.
Thank you. And I really enjoyed today interacting with the fans that showed up there today. They're very passionate, and, they're so thankful. And, we're thankful as well to be able to be a part of that community and to grow this team to back to championship form, and we're going to do it.
Yeah, well, I don't want to wish time away because I love summer and fall, but, boy, opening night is going to be fantastic. President Seneca, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You got it. There he is, the new owner of the Rochester Nighthawks, the Seneca Nation, President J. Conrad Seneca, joining us in the Sports Bar.
There's one thing. There's a question you asked him. I'm like, talking about, all right, if you sit down with city leaders and city council, and it was an idea that was shunned in our town some 10 years ago.
Casino?
Well, what's changed? For our YouTube viewers, I'm holding up my phone, okay? The idea that, all right, I got the counter argument years ago, but that counter argument really doesn't kind of hold water right now when we have legalized wagering in New York State, as we should. So why wouldn't you want an entertainment complex in downtown Rochester?
I was there, as I was saying to him. I was in Niagara Falls on Saturday night, and Seneca Niagara was hosting an outdoor concert with with Men at Work, Christopher Cross, and Toto.
Dude, I'm jealous. That sounds like fun.
Went to the show, and all I could think to myself as I was at the show was like, wow, this would be a lot of fun if I didn't have to drive an hour and a half to go to this show. It would have been great to have downtown Rochester. I could imagine, because you have space downtown, that you could do. We've seen a stage go up Parcel 5. We know that there's a way that it could get done. There's a way that all of this could get done, and you could see further development in downtown Rochester. I get your point about legalized sports wagering being on your phone, and it's accessible to everybody now. And what would a casino mean for downtown? What would it, I've been to casinos that are downtown that don't really present very well, Cleveland.
Yeah, right.
But I also know that if it is done right, and I thought Saturday night was done right. I had a great time. Now, I was not gambling on Saturday night, so I was probably not the target that they were looking for, because I'm sure they want people, as they're going in and out of the concert outside, to swing through the casino and sit at a table for a little bit. I didn't do any of that because I had my daughters with me. But that would be, can you imagine every Saturday night having national level artists downtown Rochester performing on a stage next to a casino or next to an event center that's run by Seneca Nation? I don't have a problem with that. I think it'd be a lot of fun to just add life to our downtown.
Well, at minimum, you have somebody making an investment to keep a sports team here, and it adds to the quality of life. And I understand. Some people love the Bills, and I'm never going to go to a lacrosse. I would just say try it at some point.
Right. By the way, I know there are people that aren't listening to our show that couldn't care less about the Bills, about sports, about gambling, about a casino.
Yeah.
Those people are out there too. And I would listen to those objections. I would completely listen to those objections. But my first thing would be like, do you like downtown the way it is right now? Do you think it could be better? Do you think we could do better? Do you think we should expect a little bit more?
The people that say, well, I'm not into sports, and they don't, well, that's the same thing of like, oh, well, I don't like this genre of music. Like, stop. You have to recognize that there is an audience
That's
there.
right. That's right. Well, it sounds like, from the words of President J. Conrad Seneca, who just joined us here in the Sports Bar, that he and city leaders have hit it off, and maybe this is a step towards something bigger down the road. But for now, like I said, I don't want to be greedy, but for now, this is great news. And you've got an owner invested in our community, an owner invested in this team, and an owner that's saying all the right things. We want a championship for the Rochester Nighthawks. I'm looking forward to it. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Again, don't wish time away. It'll be a fun winter.
Michael F. Florio does fantasy football at NFL Network. F joins us next. We'll have a fantasy football conversation as we get into peak draft season in redraft leagues. That's Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, next on The Fan.
Great day for lacrosse fans, great day for sports fans in our community. The Rochester Nighthawks have been saved. The Seneca Nation taking over. Connor Fields, the league's MVP, he's all smiles.
It means the world to us, one, that, we're staying here, but two, that we have an ownership group who's very familiar with the game and also, really cares about the growth of the game itself here in Rochester. The sky's the limit for this team, and to have a group like that, the Seneca Nation, who owns this team now, I think it's going to be a really bright future here for Rochester.
To the Buffalo Bills, where the team was off today. Just 2 practices left at Fisher this training camp. Camp will break coming up on Thursday. Michael F. Florio from the NFL Network will talk some fantasy coming up next. Rochester Red Wings begin a 6-game series tonight in Norfolk. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
A lot of Bills fans excited to watch Hard Knocks, its debut, Episode 1, Buffalo Bills, tonight at 9 o'clock. I know Michael F. Florio's got it already pre-recorded, ready to go, ready to watch some Hard Knocks for his favorite team. Joining us now to talk some fantasy football here in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia, our buddy F. Michael, good to have you on with us, bud. I'm going to hit you with one off the top, and I know that IDP leagues aren't something that every fantasy player gets involved in. Everybody's league is different. Everybody some people enjoy different formats, and the individual defensive player is something that some leagues install. We have something in the league potentially this year that we haven't seen since, Deion Sanders, and a player that can truly play both sides of the ball and be impactful on both sides of the ball. How do you deal with Travis Hunter if you're in an IDP league going into this season?
Well, first, I will say that I hate IDP leagues because I don't hate defensive players. I hate the scoring. If Travis Hunter is a shutdown corner like we all think he can be, he won't score a lot of defensive points because they won't throw him the ball his way. And that's a good thing if you're a cornerback, right? That means you're doing your job. You're not giving up space, separation. You're sticking with your guy like you're supposed to. Yet you get punished for it because you don't get the one of my best examples is there was a few years ago where the strategy became just throw the ball to Malcolm Butler when teams are facing him. He was the highest scoring cornerback in IDP leagues because he racked up so many tackles because he was poor at his job. But for Travis Hunter, look, I let's avoid what fantasy baseball sites did with Shohei Ohtani, where they made him 2 players or they made him where you have to pick if you use him as a hitter or a pitcher. No. He is a unicorn, as is Travis Hunter. He gets treated as a unicorn in real life. He should be treated as one in fantasy. So I think in IDP leagues, Travis Hunter should get points for both what he does on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball. I'm sure there's people who disagree. But the beauty of that is, like you were saying when you brought me on, you could set your league to however you want, but that's just my opinion on the matter.
I love the fact you have an opinion on IDP leagues. Michael, I'm in 4 different leagues, and each of them have a different format. Tell me what are some of your favorite formats and just, the idea that go try different stuff. Like fantasy football is meant to be played more than one way.
Yeah, and I am in double-digit leagues, so many different formats. My personal favorite is always Superflex because that then gives you the option of playing a second quarterback. Most people treat it as a standard 2-quarterback league, but if you get in a pinch, let's say your quarterback gets hurt or something like that, you could fill in with another option. But to me, it just gives so much more strategy than a 1 QB league where at least half, if not more, of the teams are waiting on their quarterback. You kind of got to pick and choose. Do you want to be thin at that position? Do you want to get 2 right off the bat? So I think it adds a lot of strategy there. I'm also a big fan of as many flex spots as you are comfortable putting in. I think is a good thing because having to go a little bit deeper is more fun in my opinion. Like everyone knows to start their studs and stuff like that, but when you find someone off the waiver wire that hits, it is the best feeling in fantasy. And the deeper the league can go, I know sometimes it makes it a little bit harder off the waiver wire, but I'm a believer that the more lineup spots you have, the better player is going to win more often than not. But yeah, there's no. I love like salary cap or auction leagues, whatever people call them nowadays. Like I'm in one this upcoming weekend with an actual live auctioneer. So I'm super excited for that one.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, talking fantasy football in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. And as we have you on, we got some breaking news that has fantasy implications, and that would be the 3-game suspension just handed down from the NFL to Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison. Now, we're all getting ready for our season-long drafts here towards the end of the month, and maybe there's some that have already happened, but dealing with players like Addison, Rashee Rice comes to mind, players that might have a suspension in their future. What's your strategy for those guys when you're trying to come out of the gate strong and you know that you're going to be without some of these star players early on?
It always comes down to cost, in my opinion. Like right now, I will admit I'm not a huge Jordan Addison guy, and even if he was playing the full year, I really didn't find myself in early drafts and stuff going after him. I believe T.J. Hockenson is going to be their number 2 target. I am very, very high on T.J. Hockenson this season, so I was already kind of fading Jordan Addison. But Rashee Rice is an interesting one because, like, he's a 4th-round pick right now in ADP, and I think if he was playing 17 games, that is a value. He was going in the 3rd before we thought the suspension might come. But if we hear that he's going to miss, and that's one that could be a wide range of games. But once the suspension comes out, his ADP will fall. Now, it depends on how far it falls, but I am a believer that you want your best lineup later in the year. And if I can draft someone now with a discount knowing – hey, I got to get by 3 weeks without Rashee Rice, let's say it is, or 4 weeks, whatever it might be. That's easier for me, especially with no buys and stuff. Injuries aren't as prevalent early in the year, like the first couple of weeks at least. So I can now plan to have a replacement there. So I am actually – a lot of people I know like to come out strong and differ from my thinking. I'm like, I'll be able to scrape by these first couple of weeks, but if I have now 8th-round Rashee Rice, let's say, in Week 17, I'm cooking with fire now. So my approach tends to be a little bit different than others, but if I like the player and I feel like I'm getting a big enough discount, I have no problem taking a suspended player. Like last season or 2 years ago maybe it was at this point, I was all about taking Alvin Kamara despite his 3-game suspension. And he ended up finishing as a top 5 running back in points per game. No one cared about that suspension once he came back.
A fantasy question that really, kind of morphs into real football here. The Rams taking care of business today, giving Kyron Williams a new deal. What do you think of this in the context of James Cook? Who would you have had on your board? Is it Williams or Cook?
So right now I have Williams higher. That's not me saying I think he's the better player. That's me saying I think he has a larger share of the workload in that backfield because as awesome as James Cook is, and it was funny on the NFL Fantasy Football Show today, I kind of pointed at this and I was like, if you're the Bills, you should be like, look what Kyron Williams just got. That is a very fair number for James Cook, even if it's maybe a little bit more or less, give or take, but it's not the 15-plus that Saquon got and those guys. But the difference is last season, Kyron Williams led the NFL in percentage of a team's carries, a team's touches, a team's yards, a team's touchdowns. Like he was the entire Rams running attack. Now, I know they have Blake Corum there they feel good about. They just drafted Jarquez Hunter. I actually got to speak with both of those fellas at Rams camp last week. Awesome dudes, really good players. But Kyron is still the lead guy there. And McVay has shown us that when he has a lead running back, he is not afraid to just ride that guy and give him 300-plus touches. Whereas the Bills' approach with James Cook last year was the exact opposite, right? It was, all right, we're gonna limit his touches on the ground by getting Ray Davis involved a bit. We're going to limit his usage in the passing game because we have Ty Johnson. So it's just a volume thing. Talent-wise, I think James Cook is the better running back of the two. But talent doesn't score fantasy points. You also need to carry the ball a bunch, and Kyron has that over James Cook right now.
Season-long fantasy football draft season happening right now. Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, talking some fantasy football in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. And in the leagues that I'm in and the leagues that I might be the commissioner of, we're setting it all up. We're getting ready for the big draft night. And when we're setting draft orders, Michael, I'm wondering, I think this varies from year to year. Is there a sweet spot in 2025 that you would want to be in a 10 or a 12-team league in terms of draft positioning?
Yeah, it's also kind of a preference thing. It does vary year to year, but more often than not, I enjoy being towards the back half of the first round because especially a year like this one where I think you could make a case like 15 to 16 players who are first-round caliber players. Like, I absolutely love A.J. Brown. I have him as my 6th-ranked wide receiver. I think he should be a top 10 pick, definitely a first-round pick. But yet you could get him in the early to middle portion of the second round. Lad McConkey goes in that range. Drake London. Devon Achane is a second-rounder this year. So I feel like in the middle of the second round there is a clear drop-off. So I ideally want to have 2 players by that point. So, yes, I know that means I'm not going to have Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb, but I'm not feeling bad about it if I have some combination of, like, Malik Neighbors and Devon Achane or something like that. Like, that is a phenomenal start. So that is where ideally and hey, some leagues let you pick. So if you're in a league like that, then your spot greatly matters. And you should be looking at mocks and stuff to see who you could get outside of just the first round.
Yeah, Michael, this is, you could say it's a trap or you could say it's a useful tool. We have preseason games here, and I'm so curious to see. I guess Shedeur Sanders is getting the start in Cleveland. We know that Anthony Richardson's getting the start with the Colts. Hey, J.J. McCarthy, we get him back in Minnesota. What is your advice when it comes to, all right, just the eye test and preseason, because we're all going to be watching a lot of it this week?
I think the biggest thing in preseason is don't overreact, right? Like, look, Anthony Richardson is someone that I've loved in the past, and I still think his upside is sky high. If he comes out in the preseason and is throwing ducks all over the field, then maybe you can react to that. But, like, if J.J. McCarthy, let's say, comes out and looks a little rusty and like he hasn't played football in a while, that's because he hasn't. So I think, yes, you want to watch these rookies closely. You want to pass the eye test, like you said. But it's also important to remember, like, this is a huge adjustment for them. It's their first taste of NFL football. Don't get too high or too low on what you see in preseason. What I look for more than anything in preseason is usage, right? Like, if a guy has one touch and it's an 80-yard touchdown, that's going to go viral on social media and everything, and it might make him go a little bit earlier in drafts, but it's one touch. I don't care about that. I want to see who's out there with the starters, who's in the 3 wide receiver sets, which running backs are getting. And it's hard because in preseason the starters might only play a drive or 2, but in my opinion, the usage on those drives when the starters are out there are what you should most be keeping an eye on.
F, what about the big plays that could occur that just look different? Let me explain. I tell this story all the time because I'll always remember the first preseason where Patrick Mahomes was going to be the starter in Kansas City, and he's playing against the Falcons, and it's a fast track, and Tyreek Hill gets unbelievable separation behind the Falcons defense, and Mahomes throws a missile to him, and it looked, to my eyes, like nothing I had seen in a long, long time. I'm like, oh, that's going to be something. Are there elements of that as you're watching the preseason that you've got your radar up for?
Yeah, and a good example of something like that is a great example that you gave. This one isn't preseason, but it's similar to it. Like, I felt enamored with Drake May last year. Sorry, Bills fan. I know he is a rival QB. But if you look at Drake May's stats, they weren't all that impressive at all. But then you put like his game tape on and you watch him play and you're like, this kid has that playmaking gene that simply cannot be taught. And Mahomes has it, the great Allen has it, all the greats have it, right? I do think there's something for watching, and if someone does something that you're just like you said, that Mahomes and Tyreek play, something like catches your eye, I think it's totally fine to be like, I like this guy, I want him or whatever. What I'm talking about more with the big plays and ignoring it is like if it's a broken coverage or I don't know, I'm aging myself here, but like Amir Abdullah's first touch in the NFL preseason was like an 80-yard untouched run, and his ADP shot up like 4 rounds. Like stuff like that, I'm not all that impressed with. But if it's a play that gets me to be like, wow, yeah, then I'm going to start to – but I think you have to build off of it, right? Like then you have to start diving deeper into that player. And obviously Mahomes was a first-round pick that had a lot of hype and everything, so that makes sense. It's like, okay, this checks out. But if it's like a 4th-round kid who we're not sure how much he's going to play and he makes one nice play, that's not to the same extent.
Michael, we've been at Bill's camp every day. They've been at Fisher so far, and you were at Rams camp. So, just some firsthand reporting there because that's an interesting fantasy team, is it not? We've talked a little about Williams. You've got Nakua. You've got this guy, Devontae Adams, coming in. You got a quarterback that, all right, you don't know about his health. So what were some of your takeaways from a fantasy standpoint when you were out at Rams camp?
The first thing is that Puka Nakua has the best hair flow I've ever seen in my life. He came running out, and I was just like, oh, my God. Like, he's in the wrong field right now. He should be acting or something. But it's hard to take stuff away from the camp when the starting quarterback isn't there. And when I was there, I was watching their 4th-string quarterbacks playing, but there's a lot of talent at those skill positions with the Rams. Like, I know Kyron is the bell cow, but Jarquiz Hunter is a dog. Blake Corum, I think, is going to have a much better year 2 than he did year 1. And then in their wide receiver room, like, obviously Puka and Devontae are going to get all the volume, and they're going to be the fantasy stars there. But if anything was to happen, like, Tutu Atwell was playing really well. This new rookie that they got, Mumfield, they're very high on him. And they were talking up him being a weapon out of the slot and stuff. So I think the Rams are one of those offenses that, one, at full strength, we know they're going to have a lot of firepower and they're going to be really useful for fantasy. But they also have guys that tend to miss time or in Devontae's case, is getting up there in age. They know that, and they are prepared for that, and they have backfilled those rooms with a lot of talent that maybe the world doesn't know yet. So more watch list guys, but if anything was to happen to one of those Rams starters, I think their backups could fill in very nicely.
Michael, on the other side of that coin there at Rams camp, you've got joint practices with the Cowboys. They'll face each other this weekend in a preseason matchup. I'm curious about the Cowboys backfield. Why? Who are you liking out of the Cowboys backfield, and why is it Jaden Blue?
It is Jaden Blue. I tweeted yesterday just a very simple draft Jaden Blue this summer because he's going in the double-digit rounds right now, and I just think that he is the upside play there. Like, if Javonte ends up holding on to the job all year, Javonte will be, in my opinion, what Javonte has been for years now, an RB3 that you'll probably guess wrong when to use him and when not. And last season, he posted a lot of career lows as a runner last year, but the trade-off was, okay, he made up for it with a lot of passing volume. But he wasn't good as a pass catcher. He averaged the 4th fewest yards per target. He just was getting a lot of volume because he was the best on a bad situation. Now, maybe that's what happens here in Dallas, but I was going back this week to my draft notes because, I mean, the draft was a lifetime ago now at this point. But when I was watching Jaden Blue, one name I wrote, like, his ceiling is a C.J. Spiller type of running back because he is very fast, he's very shifty, and he has really smooth hands out of the backfield. So while Javonte is the safer bet to get touches, I would say, at least as of today, there's not a lot of upside there. And if Blue hits, he has the potential to be a top 20 running back, potentially even higher, depending on just how much work they opt to give him. But if he looks good and Javonte looks like Javonte, talent tends to win out in this league.
Same question, but let's look at Denver's backfield because it sure looks like Sean Payton is building something similar to what he had in New Orleans with R.J. Harvey and now the addition of J.K. Dobbins. What's your take on their backfield?
I think that is a good comparison. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be the hammer there. I think he caps the ceiling of R.J. Harvey because I would expect to come out and be the goal line runner at least and stuff like that, and he's going to have a role. But Harvey is the one that I'm really interested in because he is a weapon as a receiver out of the backfield, and no coach schemes up more passes to the running back than Sean Payton. Since 2017, I believe it is, his RB1 has averaged 86 targets per season. Like, that is what made Alvin Kamara such a cheat code. He would do it with, like, 900 rushing yards because of all that pass game work. So Harvey brings that in. And then if Harvey gets more usage as a runner or near the goal line than I'm anticipating, then he could flirt with being an RB1. So I really like RJ Harvey as the play there. But Dobbins is a good RB3 and one of the better backups or handcuffs in this league, in my opinion. You could earn standalone value. I just, week one, wouldn't want to be starting J.K. Dobbins.
So I think a lot of us are onto Amari Hampton of the Chargers. You're out there in Los Angeles. The question is, like, at what point of camp does it become a concern that Najee Harris isn't out there? Because I don't know about you, Michael. If it's superficial, I would have thought maybe he'd be on the field right now participating. This is what the agent said, talking about that eye injury. What do you make here of the Chargers' backfield?
Look, Omarion Hampton is a dog. He's a physical runner. I always joke that he was put on this planet to carry the ball 300 times. Like he has that physique. But I was a little bit lower, not because of the talent or anything, than consensus on Hampton, because I thought Najee Harris would have a larger role than a lot of people were expecting. And I thought early on, especially, you ease the kid in, you split work with Najee, however they want to divvy it up. And I thought as the year went on, talent would win out and Hampton would get more and more of a workload. But with Harris being out, I know it's still only August 5th, but the more time he misses, the more I think it skews towards Hampton getting the heavy share of the early work. And if he's getting, like, week one, and he's getting, like, 70% of the running back touches there, I think he's only going to pull away further and further because he is, no disrespect to Najee Harris, he's just a far talented back. He's explosive. He could do a lot of things that Harris can't do. And Harris is new to this team as well, so these are valuable days that he is missing for getting caught up into camp. I know we still have, like, 5-6 weeks to go, but it's different if you're like Matt Stafford and you know the offense extremely well already to not be practicing. But when you're on a new team, I don't think – and you're dealing with an injury where we don't know a ton about it. Like, I don't know. I was never on Najee Harris, but I had pushed up Hampton further and further in my rankings the last week or so.
Mike, when we get to this point of the preseason and we kind of get an idea of what our rosters could look like through mock drafting and doing our research, do you light a candle for fantasy stars that are still unsigned or fantasy stars that look like they've finally hit the end of the road? I'm looking at Carson Wentz. I'm looking at Zeke Elliott. I'm looking at Jamal Williams, Amari Cooper, Gabe Davis, Keenan Allen. Do you have some sort of ceremony or retirement ceremony for fantasy names that have helped us win championships in the past?
On the NFL Fantasy Football Show, we always debate if a player is a fantasy Hall of Famer. Like, Zeke Elliott might not make the real-life Hall of Fame, but he is a fantasy football Hall of Famer for that stretch that he gave us. So that's kind of the way we have fun with it. The other thing, though, I'll say right now is I'm lighting candles hoping these guys don't go places where I want players and mess those players' value up. Like, I love Keenan Allen. I don't really love the fact that he might be coming to L.A. because I'm all about Ladd McConkey in round 2 this year. So you're more hoping that these players – like, I kept joking all summer, like, Keenan Allen's going to ruin someone's fantasy value. It's just a matter of who. And I don't want it to be a player that I have invested in or plan on investing heavily in.
Michael, we could keep you for hours and hours, but we know you got things to do. Michael, tell everybody where they can get more of your content as we are full on doing our homework here.
Yeah, you could get me over at NFL Network. Fantasy Live is returning next Monday. We will be back, so definitely set your DVRs for that. The NFL Fantasy Football Show, we're moving to 3 times. We're going to be daily before you know it in the next couple of weeks. So definitely be checking that out. Rotoballer. And then I do some stuff on SiriusXM. And then this might be interesting to Bills fans. Tomorrow we are recording the first episode. I'm starting a Bills podcast called Bills Banter with the one and only Stevie Johnson. So really hope people will listen to that and check that out.
Good. I wonder if there'll be any personality on that podcast between the two of you. That's
I don't have to bring any of it. He
Oh.
brings it for both of us.
That's exciting news, Michael. Congratulations on that. And speaking of setting your DVR, we know you already set it for Hard Knocks. Enjoy tonight's viewing, and let's catch up again real soon.
I can't wait for tonight. I joked on Twitter. There was seasons where I wouldn't be able to watch the Bills because they weren't on any primetime game, and I had to find a way to watch it. And now they are on Hard Knocks. We have come such a far way. I'm so excited. But thank you guys for having me, and go Bills.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
There he is.
Appreciate you.
Michael F. Florio, fantasy football at NFL Network, and a new pod with Stevie Johnson. Yeah, that'll be fun.
We've never had Stevie Johnson on the show.
Yeah, I mean, if we could only
would
get him to
be-
come out of his shell.
Yeah, that would be. He was the first wide receiver to go back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for Buffalo. I don't know. He never did that. Is that crazy?
That's a crazy stat.
Yeah.
That is a crazy stat. Oh, I have a crazy. Okay, here's one for you, Gino. This is a player, a former top 10 pick, 2014 draft, who will forever be linked to Josh Allen. Recently just called it a career.
Forever linked to Josh Allen 2014. Sammy Watkins?
No.
No.
You'll never get it.
No problem.
And I'm being kind of vague, but when I saw this, I'm like, the only thing I know this player for is for what Josh Allen did to him. Anthony Barr got hurdled by Josh Allen, and what in the pantheon of Josh Allen plays, where you remember, where you were or what you saw, and you're like, I can't believe that just happened. Remember him his rookie year, hurdling Anthony Barr in a game that the Bills were heavy underdogs.
17.5-point dogs. We had Paul Charchian on. Do you remember this? And he's like, anyway, the Bills went, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The Bills were 0-2. They lost at home to the Chargers previously. They got wiped out by Baltimore, and Josh Allen was kind of meh in his first start. We're like, oh, boy, now they're playing this Viking team that has Super Bowl aspirations. They're going to get clocked. And that's when Danger, like, okay, there's something here that is different.
I would say that was the first regular season play that I remember saying, oh, my God, he's different. That's a different dude.
Mm-hmm.
The preseason we saw, I mean, Rod Streeter still hasn't come down from catching that first touchdown pass against the Browns in the preseason that year. That was such a missile from Josh Allen. He threw that with such velocity, the back of the end zone. Streeter catches it, and all I could think to myself is, well, we haven't seen that in a while.
The fact that he climbed in the pocket, there was a lot of garbage around him, and just was able to move his feet and keep his eyes moving like, ooh,
yeah,
okay, there's something here.
But when you see the image of Josh Allen hurdling, which we see, it's just part of our culture. You just see it in it's street art. It's on the wall at Three Heads. It's everywhere you look. That was him hurdling former Viking linebacker Anthony Barr, who today called it a career. Former top 10 pick, 4-time Pro Bowler, and just posterized by Josh Allen in that game. So there you have it. That was, I remember that game vividly. It knocked us out of Survivor.
Yeah, we were okay with it.
And we were fine. We're like, wow, that was a big win, and that was an amazing play. Happy Hour is next in the sports bar. Kyron Williams got paid in Los Angeles. What does it mean for James Cook? And I believe this is a first in the sports bar. We've been on the air now for over 9 years, Gino, you and I have. And
9 times.
I don't know that we've ever received this in our history.
No, you showed this to me today. I'm like, really?
I'll explain. Happy Hour is next, a round of shots, and plenty of time for your calls if you want to pull up a stool. 585-866-4FAN is our number, 866-4326.
And W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
The Rochester Nighthawks have a new owner, the Seneca Nation, taking over from the Pagulas. League MVP Connor Fields now thinking championship.
We all use it as motivation each year. I think we all try to get better each year coming into each season individually. As a team, we stay connected. Obviously having this certainty now of we're staying here and we're here to stay is definitely, I think, a confidence boost in itself too, knowing that, we have a group that we think, can compete and win a championship. And now, we can do it here in Rochester. So we can't wait.
Next up is the CBA. NLL Commissioner Brett Frood telling the Fan Rochester he believes an agreement is imminent. Just 2 practices left for the Buffalo Bills at Fisher. The team is off today. Head coach Sean McDermott will join us in the sports bar tomorrow. Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison has been suspended for the first 3 games of this coming season. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome to Happy Hour, the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Strike 2.
Yeah, I'm struggling today, buddy.
What's going on, buddy?
The heads in the clouds. I got camp brain is what
right.
I got. Camp brain has got me a little bit clumsy here in the studio. We're back at camp tomorrow, and tomorrow promises to be an all-timer in terms of our shows at Buffalo Bills training camp because for the first time, you mentioned it during your update, Gino, Sean McDermott will be joining us in the sports bar.
Yeah, and I think he might be concerned about a few things, right? James Cook. We've got a development indirectly on that. We'll get to that here in a second. And this long list of injuries. We talked to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, Chalpakis, because, we don't want to, not address this, but the Bills do have a new strength and conditioning coach, Will Greenberg, guy promoted from within. What has happened here this camp? Why all these soft tissue? And look, some things like the corner, the rookie there, that's non-contact, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, there are some things that have nothing to do with strength and conditioning, that accidents will happen, injuries will happen. But we'll talk to Sean McDermott about that and some other stuff. And I don't know what Sean we're going to get tomorrow. Playful Sean or I'm ready for practice here, Sean?
Well, I'm sure we'll get I'm ready for practice, Sean. But regardless, I'm still going to be curious about diving into the mind of a head coach in the NFL because I can't help myself. I have to know how that light switch gets turned off and he becomes husband, father, son, the separate side of his life and how that permeates into his ability to do the job that is being asked of him as an NFL head coach. It has to be an enormous challenge. And especially this time of year when you're just getting going, you're just building momentum, that there's a lot of expectation going into the season. I'm fascinated by the guy. I think it's going to be a fun season. I think he's going to be that'll be a fun conversation. We're also going to have a fun conversation tomorrow, as we do every year, as camp closes down, with Chris Brown and Steve Tasker. The guys from One Bills Live are going to give us some extra hours tomorrow.
That's always fun. I mean, to get those guys just kind of walking over, and our setup there, it's a little mini radio row. You've got Jeremy and Joe and WGR, and they come in and they do their show in the morning. And you've got the One Bills Live show, and they're kind of front and center. And then we're off to the left-hand side. And once they're done with One Bills Live, literally they will just take 10 steps to the left and come over and join our show. So it's exciting. A guy that I can call Brownie. I've known him since 94, all right,
Wow.
the voice of the Buffalo Bills. And then a guy that, look, I mean, you grow up in this area. Okay, you have to say, well, of course I was a Bills fan growing up. And if I had to say I was a Bills fan growing up, the guy I was a fan with is Steve Tasker, so I will not get all fanboy. I've done that in the past. I'll be cool, all right?
Yeah.
I promise.
All right.
Be cool.
Yeah. Also, Joe Biscaglia and Catherine Fitzgerald, the Buffalo News. Joe Biscaglia, the Athletic, Catherine Fitzgerald making her inaugural visit into the sports bar as well.
Yeah, and then who knows what topics we have tomorrow. Like, that's going to be a fun show tomorrow because I can't tell you what's going to happen in the next 24 hours with James Cook. It's funny. You have people like Pelissero, and Rossini was the one today that is suggesting, hey, this is a negotiation, and this is, this kind of characterizing this as like close to getting done. And I don't know. You and I have listened to Brandon Beane how many times? I just didn't get that sense yesterday.
Let's look at this a little bit closer here, because Kyron Williams today in Los Angeles agreeing to a 3-year, $33 million extension, $23 million guaranteed. So that's an average of $11 million per year, and he is now tied for the 7th highest paid amongst NFL running backs in average annual salary. Now let's contrast that to the $15 million that we've heard James Cook say he wants, and put that to the side. Last season, Williams handled 43% of his team's offensive touches. Almost half of the team's touches went to Williams. He rushed for almost 1,300 yards, 1,299 yards, 14 touchdowns. I think by all accounts you would say Williams had himself a pretty good 2024 season, and he's been consistent with them. Contrast that to James Cook, who played around 45 to 48% of Buffalo's offensive snaps in 2024, depending on which metric you want to look at, 48% per PFF. Losing most of that third down work, as we've documented, and 2-minute work to Ty Johnson and to Ray Davis. This team works more in a committee. They trust Ty Johnson more on third down. Why would you put James Cook out there if you trust this guy to do the job better? Top-tier backs, as we've discussed in the NFL, guys like Barkley, Henry, McCaffrey, they're getting 60 to 75% of their team's offensive snap share. So again, Cook, anywhere from 20 to 25% less snaps than those top-tier guys that he wants to get paid like. I'm cooking here. Little pun.
Yeah, I see what you're doing.
Cook had a great 2024. He had over 1,000 rushing yards. He led the league with 16 rushing touchdowns, receiving yardage, playoff production. Nobody's disputing that he had a great season last year. Nobody's disputing that he should try and get his money now, entering the final year of his rookie deal. But the Williams deal makes it even harder for a team to justify paying Cook the $15 million that he's looking for. His production is elite on a per-snap basis, but as I mentioned, Buffalo doesn't. They're a committee. They're backfield by design.
They're a committee, but let's just kind of go back to the take from Thurman Thomas. James Cook is the second best Buffalo Bill, not the second most important, just overall second best. And I would say yes to that.
Yeah,
I don't want to imagine. And look, we can go down that road. How will this offense look this year? This offense worked last year because of Josh Allen, but then when you put a running back next to him with the skill set of James Cook has separation ability unlike very few. Certainly superior to Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams is a different back. And if you're just going by the percentage, hey, he's a 3-down back for the Rams. Okay, James Cook isn't that.
Right.
And the more I think about this danger is like, okay, how could this seep over into the regular season if you don't get this done now? Well, then James Cook is going to go full on into me mode this season, meaning maybe he doesn't, but hey, I want to be on the field on third down. What get me my more touches? I mean, what?
Honestly, I don't have time for that. If I'm Sean McDermott, if I'm Joe Brady, we are going to win as a team, and we have a way of doing it. And here's how we've done it, and here's how we're going to do it. And that's impressive that you want to be on more. We appreciate that you want to do more. I will
also say this. I thought it was dumb not to use him on that last drive against Kansas City.
Sure.
But, Gene, it was a 2-minute drill. No, it wasn't. It was more than 3 minutes.
Yep.
Third down. No, third down's okay. Every down was going 4, okay? Until
I wonder if that's part of where his head is at, too. The idea that he hears that noise, that he wasn't out there with the game on the line, even though you could argue behind Josh Allen, he was the best player on the field in that AFC Championship game.
Behind Josh Allen. Josh Allen was great. James Cook was greater. Like that one touchdown that he stretched out. Sure, that's got to stick with him.
SpotTrack estimates Cook's market at around $10.2 million a year on a 4-year extension. A lot of analysts cap his fair value closer to $10 to $11 million per year in a multi-year deal. Nobody's debating his efficiency, his explosiveness, but Buffalo, as it stands right now, does not trust him for third down and 2-minute situations, which is going to cap his value with this team. So at $15 million a year, Cook would outrank Williams financially, despite having lower usage, and that misalignment makes the $15 million a year that Cook seeks a hard one to justify. A fair and defensible offer would be anything under the $11 million that the Rams are paying Kyren Williams. It's competitive within the market. It's aligned with his usage. And it's contingent on, you can make it contingent on potential role expansion. You could offer playtime escalators, performance bonuses tied to snap share and third down usage as well. But if you see James Cook get an extension from the Buffalo Bills that is over $11 million per year, I think that is a mistake. And I don't think Brandon Beane is going to make that mistake with James Cook.
I just get the sense, too, that this agent is a little green behind the ears or whatever you want to say, like mixing my metaphors. Right? Admittedly. You've got camp brain, and I've got camp brain, too. I'm not as optimistic, Danger. I know these national people are saying, look at this, look at this.
I am not.
No,
I have
okay,
not.
yeah.
I have not. I'm saying that if the Bills were to give him an extension, that is more, because Kyren Williams, I'm sure James Cook looks at that and he says, "Oh, he's the 7th best paid. I'm better than that.
I'm way better."
Yeah, and that's fine. He should have that confidence. He's entitled to that confidence. It's going to serve him well when he hits free agency next year. He will get his money, but it will only come after he balls out this year. And maybe it's the Bills and maybe it's not. But right now, if you're telling me James Cook deserves more than $11 million per year or more than what Kyren Williams just got from the Rams, I think that's a mistake.
I saw one of these aggregator stories, and I feel sheepish even like pointing this stuff out, but I'm just pointing this out to say no. If you see this tonight, top 3 landing spots for James Cook if the Bills are going to trade James Cook. Arizona, Minnesota, Dallas. It's your typical ask AI something and let me spit it out.
Yeah.
He's not getting traded. What would be the benefit at this point of trading James Cook?
Micah Parsons.
Okay. Fair enough.
Right. I mean, like that, I know that I'm dreaming. That's a dream scenario where I'm thinking to myself, like I have been all offseason, what would this team look like if it had somebody of that caliber on the defensive line? Because we all like what they have. We've settled for what they have. But we don't have that when you're fresh off of a loss in the AFC Championship game. You think to yourself, we need Myles Garrett. When Myles Garrett was saying, I want out of Cleveland, every team was saying, come to Chicago, come to Buffalo, come to whatever team you want to insert here. They want that kind of player. And I feel the same way about Micah Parsons. I don't know why we let our foot off the gas in that desire.
Well, I think we're just being realistic, as Matt Perino pointed out. Like, okay, go get him. We don't have
the Bills.
The Bills don't have the draft capital.
That's right.
A team that's going to be picking 29, 30, dare I say 32. Is that really attractive to Dallas, or maybe a different team? I don't know, like your Bears.
Yeah,
let's
right,
say.
right.
Yeah, like,
I get it.
yeah.
I get it. But I always kind of like think to myself, what if, allow myself to dream a little bit.
Well, and in that dream, who knows? You get Jerry after a few highballs, right? Like, honestly, the way I have no idea the way that guy thinks, but for the sake of this fantasy, James Cook and AJ Epinesa and 2 first-round picks, I think that gets the deal not done, but at least you would like that. That's the best the Bills could do,
right? And we know what Brandon Beane thinks of his draft picks. He values them a great deal. So, I just. If you're asking what it would take for a trade, that it would take something like that. It would take something monumental. Do you pick up the phone and talk to Cincinnati about Trey Hendrickson? I don't know. But could I envision could I see a world where you have somebody like that on the Bills' defensive line? And I say we settle. Maybe we have it with Joey Bosa. Maybe Joey Bosa in this environment with managed reps through the course of the season stays healthy and is efficient in his new role with the team.
That's ironic, right? We have this massive list of injuries, soft tissue this, soft tissue that, and Joey Bosa's fine.
Yeah. I think they're managing
Yeah.
all of these guys. They're managing their reps, and some of them are able. That is a fascinating thing. The idea that they've changed their strength and conditioning routine, their strength and conditioning coach, and I wonder what what role that plays, if any, into some of these soft tissue injuries, some of these injuries that they have creeping up. But I am also of the belief that we don't need to overreact to the long list of injuries at training camp, because it is still training camp. And I think a lot of these guys, when it comes down to it, week 1, they will be ready to go and as close to 100% as you could ask for anybody.
I think Maxwell Harrison is a concern. I think like somebody like that can't get the rest. Cole Bishop's a concern. Cole Bishop is a concern. Like if we had to do like concerns here, am I 0% concerned about Khalil Shakir? No. High ankles are terrible, but Shakir is such a warrior that I would be stunned if he's not out there September 7th.
That's right. Our coverage of Buffalo Bills training camp is brought to you by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys, Maddie's Motorsports with locations in Dansville, Spencerport, and Farmington, Maddie'sMotorsports.com, We the Hobby. Visit 23 Arlington Street, Rochester, and by Ace Swim and Leisure, Chili Ave, and Ridgewood Webster, aceswim.com. Tomorrow on the show, as we mentioned, Sean McDermott, head coach, Buffalo Bills, will be stopping by. We'll have our after-hours conversation with the guys from One Bills Live. Chris Brown and Steve Tasker will join us right at the top of the show. Joe Buscaglia of The Athletic will get his thoughts on camp at Fisher, and also making her inaugural visit into the sports bar, Catherine Fitzgerald, the Buffalo News.
The Buffalo News. So a loaded show tomorrow. We've had a great show today. And Nighthawk fans, this is your evening. Just sit back and smile. For the first time ever on the show, Danger, we had a president on the show.
Yeah.
Like an actual president. J. Conrad Seneca, the president of Seneca Nation, as they are the new owners of the Rochester Nighthawks. This makes all the sense in the world, having indigenous ownership for a sport that they invented, right? So, and having him on the show today was fantastic. J. Conrad Seneca fired up when talking earlier today.
How about those Nighthawks? Let's go, right? Yeah. This is an exciting time, and once the opportunity came, we looked at it and we realized the importance of it and our connection to this game of lacrosse and what it means to us as a medicine game, as a spiritual game, a game that's able to bring our people and communities together where we come from. And the importance of this game we call lacrosse is, I think, very vibrant here in Rochester. And for us to be able to step in, to be able to take possession of this team, this franchise, and to keep it here in Rochester, I think means a great deal to you, the team, and I think to the fan base and the people of this community of Rochester and also this region. And so it's a very important decision and a process that we're going through right now. And we want your support. We need your support. As the commissioner said, let's get out there and let's get people into this building this coming season. Let's pack this place because the excitement is here and we want to bring another championship to Rochester. How about that?
Love everything I'm hearing.
I thought it was a great move to open up the building to fans too. Like that was something they could have very easily done just behind a video stream. No. This is a day you want to celebrate, and they had food out there. They had balloons. They had a Chopper, the mascot, going around. So it was, and there were 8 to 10 players that were there, and they were all signing autographs. We've had got the chance, and you'll hear in the update coming up, Connor Fields catching up, and gosh, to have the league MVP, here in Rochester. Okay, MVP, good talent around. Why isn't there any reason they couldn't compete for a championship next year?
You can engage with us on social media. Find us at The Fan Rochester on any platform, including on YouTube, where we stream live, and Twitch, where we stream live every afternoon from 3 until 6. On X, some of our regulars reacting to J. Conrad Seneca, who joined us in the sports bar, including Chuck Munchiapet. That's our regular Greg. Your interview with President Seneca was pure gold. Gave me excited goosebumps. Loved it. Jack enjoyed the interview as well. That was a lot of fun, and it might just be a step towards more activity in our community when it comes to entertainment options.
We don't need to name the previous regimes here in Rochester, right, in terms of who was the leadership. But it just would seem very basic that if you're a mayor, you want to invite new business to your town, right? And you have a problem. The problem being the Pagulas are like, hey, we're out. We need a new owner. Okay, it provided an opportunity. And to have Malik Evans just kind of, and his staff just jump on this. And when we talked to President Seneca earlier, you asked him the question, could this lead to other things downtown? He didn't rule it out, Danger.
No. I mean, here's what I know about business people. They like to make money. And if there's money to be made, they will find a way to make it. And I don't know. I know that the idea of a casino downtown isn't for everybody. I know that a lot of people would kind of, roll their eyes at that idea. And I don't know that that's necessarily a good or bad thing for our downtown. But I just look at our downtown and I think about our downtown. And there's a lot to like about downtown Rochester. But I think it's fair to expect more out of our downtown.
I think we need to continue to beat the drum, for more on that. So, and look, the Nighthawks, let's be honest, okay, they need to at least break even here. This is not a donation, as Terry Pegula once called it, but Terry Pegula had the Bills, the Sabres, the Bandits, like a record label, other things. This will be focused on, and I'm sure they're going to push. There was one detail in the Nighthawks that really I didn't get until talking with some people today. And if you go back to Kurt Stiers, the owner, and whatever happened between he and the city and the arena, well, he decided, okay, I'm out. When the Pagulas took over, the indigenous people didn't come back. Like, they were there supporting the Nighthawks with Kurt Stiers. And one of those was actually Jake Conrad Seneca, who mentioned he would come to the games, under the previous ownership going back 2 ago. So
yeah, this is him on his Rochester lacrosse history.
There was a day back in the late 60s when a young boy, around 10 years old, got the ball at center court of the field and made his way down to the goal and scored his first goal as a peewee of the Newtown lacrosse team. And that was me. And so Rochester has always had a special part in my life in regards to that. It was my first goal I ever scored in lacrosse, and I remember it like it was yesterday.
So, bringing that community back into the Blue Cross Arena, this is just a major win, bringing different investment in downtown. Please tell me what there's not to like about this.
Yeah, it's a big day for the sports fan and a big day for the Rochester community. If you missed our conversations today, we had plenty. We had Michael F. Florio talking fantasy football with NFL Network. We had President J. Conrad Seneca of the Seneca Nation join us. We had Matt Perino, the Syracuse Post-Standard, covering the Buffalo Bills. All of those conversations available wherever you get your podcasts. That includes Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Search out the Sports Bar. All of our guest appearances are listed for you there. Gino, before we get to a round of shots, if I may, I think a first has occurred in Sports Bar history. We have been on the air now for over 9 years, you and I.
Actually, not correct. Do the math. No, 9 years is coming up August 29th.
August 29th. Okay.
Yeah.
I get fuzzy because I remember it was 2016. I remember having a European vacation, much like I did earlier this year. And I couldn't remember. I know I didn't get to camp that year.
Yeah.
But I do remember us starting before the football season.
Right. So August 29th, 2016, that was the birthday of the show.
We're coming up on the 9th anniversary.
9 times.
I don't think we've ever had one of our regulars send us a postcard.
I didn't know you could still send I'm not being cheeky. Like, you could find postcards these days.
This is from Linda in Webster. Cool it. I know some of you are here. Oh, Linda in Webster, worst caller to the Sports Bar ever. Stop it.
No.
Stop it.
Sweetheart.
Stop it. Linda is sweet as pie. And she and her husband sent us a postcard from Ireland. Their travels around Europe. Their travels throughout Ireland. And they sent a postcard. Gino, I would like to submit this to our wall of morale behind you.
Yeah.
Maybe you place that right in front of the Chuck Muncie picture, right behind the little mini NFL ball caps that you have over there. Linda, very generous, thinking of us while she was on vacation, traveling throughout Ireland, visiting family, exploring all that Ireland has to offer.
We have visited Dublin, Belfast, Derry, Westport, Galway, Limerick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's a full multi-city tour, July 13th to the 25th. So wait a second.
I can't explain it.
So
Gino.
the 25th, it took that long?
But also, we've been out of pocket. I haven't been in the office.
Yeah,
You haven't been in
yeah.
the office. Shannon, who works in our office, came up to me. She's like, "You got a postcard today?" And I saw it. I'm like, "Oh, look at that. Linda from Webster sending us a postcard from her vacation in Ireland. Thank you for thinking of us, Linda. And as always, thank you for being such a loyal regular here in the sports bar."
Dublin City. See, I thought the Bills were going to get tapped to go over to Dublin.
It
They
would
did
make a
not.
lot of sense. It would make a lot of sense. Well, the Vikings will get tapped to go face off against the Steelers there. Jordan Addison will be available for that game, but he will not be available for the first 3 games of the regular season. We found out today that he has been suspended by the NFL to start the NFL season. We have a round of shots on the way next.
Who had the worst loss last night? Yankees or Mets? They were just brutal.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, just kind of watching the Yankees from afar, and I watched that game last Thursday where they beat the Rays despite all of their ugliness. And at that point, I'm like, I want to take them seriously, but they feel like an unserious team.
No, well, they have a solution tonight.
I know.
We'll explain here. Which team in, I can't say Western New York, but in New York State is getting a rebrand in pro sports?
Oh.
Yeah, complete rebrand. New
Okay.
name, new uniforms, new everything. We'll tell you about that. And, those stories. And yeah, we've got a follow-up to the story here about the shooter at the NFL offices.
The last call here in the sports bar is for you as well. If you want to have the final word today's show, 866-4326 is our phone number. 585-866-4FAN.
update.
Rochester Nighthawks have a new owner, the Seneca Nation, taking over from Terry Pagula. Connor Fields, the league's MVP, he's all smiles.
It means the world to us, one, that, we're staying here, but two, that we have an ownership group who's very familiar with the game and also, really cares about the growth of the game itself here in Rochester. The sky's the limit for this team, and to have a group like that, the Seneca Nation, who owns this team now, I think it's going to be a really bright future here for Rochester.
Now, next up, the collective bargaining agreement. NL Commissioner Brett Frood telling the Fan Rochester an agreement is imminent. Just 2 practices left at St. John Fisher this training camp. The team off today. Head coach Sean McDermott will join us tomorrow in the Sports Bar. Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison has been suspended for the first 3 games of this coming season. Wings play in Norfolk tonight. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Listen to 95.7 The Fan Rochester on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps, and take the sports leader with you everywhere you go.
Happy Hour continues. Do it every day at this time. It's a round of shots in the sports bar.
2 brutal losses last night for the New York teams in baseball. The Mets got conservative on the base pass in the 9th, and then they looked like little leaguers in the 10th, losing to Cleveland. The Yankees give up a walk-off homer to Josh Young. That's not great, but it was a 2-run tying homer off. You can't even call him closer anymore, right? Devin Williams, he blew it again. To a guy hitting 131 this year, and Jock Peterson. Well, help has arrived for the Yankees. Aaron Judge returns tonight. He's only going to be playing as a DH for the foreseeable future. Newly acquired Austin Slater going on the injured list.
Williams is toast. Gets 2 blown saves in less than a week.
He never recovered. Never, like, that has happened to so many closers. Like, it's upstairs with that guy. He was electric in Milwaukee last year, and I think they knew it. That's why they moved him.
Yeah, that's a hard one to come back from, and it sure looks like in at least in the last week, that guy needs to take a lap.
The name for the Syracuse Mets will be going away. The team announcing a Name the Team contest. A full rebrand will be going into effect. The Mets own the team, so, certainly they signed off on this. The new name won't go into effect until 2027.
My question is why? Why? What's wrong with calling them the Syracuse Mets?
Are they going to be the Salt Potatoes all full-time now?
The Sky Chiefs? Well, they're the Sky Chiefs.
They were the Sky Chiefs, yeah.
Right. So why change from Mets? Is there... I don't know. The Mets own the team. The Mets, they're the affiliate of the Mets. Like, it doesn't. I kind of like it, actually.
Mets are rumble ponies. The Binghamton thing.
Mets.
Yeah.
Mets or Sky Chiefs. Mets or Salt Potatoes. Get out of here. Mets. I don't have a problem with it. I don't know, but I'm sure they'll sell a lot of jerseys and caps.
Sure. That's ultimately what it's about, I guess, yeah. This is an actual headline today at ESPN.com, and I saw this danger. I'm like, ooh, I got to mention this for my buddy. Sources. LeBron James congratulated Luka Doncic on new deal. What? You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Why are we even bringing this up? Well, Luka held a press conference Saturday morning. LeBron was not at the press conference. So the LeBron machine went into full play here, letting everybody know he's fine with us. By the way, LeBron opted in this year, $52.6 million he's going to earn from the Lakers, so he better be fine with it.
Yeah, the LeBron machine. I love that. That's like we need his permission. We need to know that he's okay with it.
He congratulated Luka on the new deal. I'm like, why are we reporting this? Why does LeBron want this out, actually?
You have to respect him. You have to. He's requesting that you will respect him.
Listen, you can love me, and I know some of you hate me as well. But the one thing you will always do is respect me and appreciate the way I approach the game and what I've given to this game.
So weird.
Thank you.
It's so weird. Just look, I love watching the player play. He is at worst the second best NBA player we've ever seen. But you will respect me, like, it's just weird energy off of that guy. It's just awkward.
This sources, LeBron James congratulated Luka Doncic on the deal. Why do you need to say sources?
Didn't he put it on social media?
Yeah. What?
So it was on social media?
What is this even?
Okay.
Anyways, someday he'll be gone, Danger, and we'll be
Well,
like, man, we should have appreciated him.
I
more."
really wish we would appreciate him a little bit more.
All right, how do we feel about this? The New York City Medical's Examiner's Office will examine the brain of the shooter, Shane Amura, for CTE. That was his wish on his death note as he murdered 4 people when targeting the NFL front offices on Park Ave.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I know that you don't want to do any favors for a guy that took the lives of others, but it could prevent others that might be suffering from this. If it does anything positive, if you get any sort of positive out of this, and it comes from that guy's brain, and you realize what led to him losing his mind, if it was indeed CTE, yeah.
See, quite often you don't hear about this stuff. Would the narrative on OJ change at all? Of like, oh my gosh, look at this guy's brain. Of course, he
I
was.
would have loved to have known that.
Yeah.
I'd be so curious to know just how affected by that trauma of playing in the NFL, how affected his brain was from it. That would have been fascinating to learn. And if you see it and if you know it, and chances are this guy suffered from CTE. Okay, what is the NFL, is this giant governing body of American football, going to do about it? Because we see the Guardian caps at training camp.
Mm-hmm.
You see him at the college level. This guy wasn't a professional football player. Do you see him at the youth level? Do you see him at the high school level? We saw one player last year in our Section 5 travels that wore a Guardian cap. One.
I get that. I just think this is it's still inexcusable. Like, you murdered 4 people. I don't think we should be painting anything sympathetic for whatever condition this gentleman.
I don't have any sympathy for him, but I do want to be able to, if there's a way that we can prevent more of this from happening in the future and learn more about CTE, I'm for that.
And maybe this is like the medical examiner's office. They're in a no-win situation, because if they don't come forward, well, you're covering up for the NFL. If they do come forward, people like me say, hey, why are we?
And by the way, if the NFL learns that the results are not in their favor, they will find a way to make sure that we never learn those results, because that is the way the NFL operates.
How is speed driving a thing? This is from Utah, this story. A guy named Chris Rashke was driving 283 miles per hour when trying to break the land speed record. Well, you can see where this story was going. He lost control of his vehicle 2.5 miles into the run. He's no longer with us. The crash took his life. He was 60.
Yeah, the salt flats, where you just got that flat earth and you can just rip it. 283.
I've never seen the salt flats. Like, what is that flying over that?
Never been. I mean, I've been to Utah. I've never been to the salt flats specifically, but I just imagine it's just flat earth and
nothing grows there. You just
you could just rip it, and 283 it's damn fast. I wouldn't want to imagine what the car would do at 283 and what that wreckage. That's horrifying. Just the thought. We've lost control on black ice, and my heart skips a beat.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine 283. No, thank you.
Remember Josh Donaldson? Of course you do. He won the American League MVP, Blue Jays, A's, finished up with the Yankees. Today, he and his family won a lawsuit. They're going to receive a $729,000 judgment. Now, whether they collect on that, I'm not sure. This against a former landlord. Donaldson, when he was with the Yankees, was renting a mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, which had mold. The landlord accused a poor response. Donaldson saying the mold caused coughs and congestion for his wife, daughter, and himself.
So he went and sued somebody for mold, and he won. He's suing.
That's not punitive damages. That's for health.
So badly just want to
No,
go into Saul Rosenberg mode.
You can't do that.
Go into full jerky mode. I'm showing a lot of restraint right now.
No, the thing I learned about Danger this week, all of a sudden, he's just working along, and I hear Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, what? Wait, where did that come from?
Please give me $1 million. Any fridge with a padlock. And, oh, yes.
Something about muscles.
Huge pectoral muscles. I was way too influenced by pop culture as a teenager. It's not good.
That's the early 90s for you.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Not good. Look back and like, none of that really holds up in the world we live in now. Yet that's what's poisoning my brain. It's not CTE. It's early 90s pop culture. It was my brain on pop culture as a teenager. And you and I going back and forth reciting the words to the log jingle from Ren and Stimpy. It's better than bad. It's good.
See, everyone loves a log.
Yeah. Powdered Toast Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of it. Come on. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So I won't do Saul Rosenberg here. And congratulations to the Donaldson family on their winning their lawsuit against their former landlord. Sued everybody. No, I won't do it. Tomorrow is going to be historic in the sports bar. Great show. Second to last day of training camp, Bills head coach Sean McDermott stopping by.
Yeah, we will talk to Joe Biscaglia, Catherine Fitzgerald, and Brownie and Tasker. So we are loaded up. We're going to finish up this week at camp high-stepping like Deion Sanders would, Danger. Very confident that we're going to – oh, and by the way, this whole James Cook story, where does it go tomorrow? We'll be on the air 3 to 6 with you.
Yeah, looking forward to that. If you missed any of today's show, our YouTube channel, you can go back and watch any of it. The Fan Rochester, like and subscribe while you're there. Or if you're a podcast listener, find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Search The Sports Bar for all of our guest appearances. JR Sport Brief on the way next on the Fan Rochester. Have a great night.